getting audio. Hold up. Hold up. Give me a sec. Oh. Alright, that sounds like audio. Oh, right, this is a screen capture. Whoops. Double hearing myself. It's not even that well. The fuck? Oh, right, this is a screen capture. Whoops. Alright, that sounds like audio that I can appreciate. Let's go with that. Let's roll as that. What's up? What am I doing? This is a not a playthrough, not even an entire read through. This is me continuing to play World End Economica after many a months of not playing it, and my gain is too high. Let's adjust this. I'm doing it live because I probably won't get this out any other way because I do not have editing software anymore. Except for OBS, which isn't an editing software, it's just a live streaming software. So that's how we're doing it. And yeah, that's about it. I have a good mic though, that hasn't changed. So yeah, I really want to see how this game ends. And if I really wanted to see how the game ended like 5 months ago, then I should have just played it. But this is where we're at. I'm sorry, okay? I know we got close. But I just had, you know, graduate college and all that shit, so threw this under the bus. But you know what they say, no one cares. So you thought I was going to say better late than never. No, fuck that shit. It's no one gives a shit, so I'm gonna finish it today. Because why not? Of course, there were greedy people everywhere. And that was what made the lunar surface go round with a dash. Using the current situation to short sell in order to turn a profit was just its style. But I had no intention of even doing that. It was not out of ethical concerns, but because I didn't have the willpower to do that much, and I fucking know I shouldn't be doing this anymore. I should be stupidly posting. I'm 23 years old, god damn it, I got better things to do, but you know what? I'm gonna see the end of this game, and I feel bad if I did it without even trying to upload it. After a 25-year-long dream, reality had come to deal with a nasty blow. God damn it, I still can't read after all these years. It meant that the whole thing, companies prospering in a world with practically no government, anyone being able to become rich if they had the skills, always out of fine print. Fine print, that said. Only as long as everything goes well. It was impossible for everything to keep on going well. Besides, even at its peak, a lot of people fell from the dream of the lunar surface. This was a land of innocent children. There would always come a moment when a land of children would need adults to intervene. Everyone was forced to realize that there was a good reason why the Earth government evolved into the form it did. As if in retaliation for the lunar surface's long dream, the displays were all full of pessimistic news. Like, this motherfucker changed his YouTube channel name and still thinks he could stream to the no one that watches it? Well, yeah. Real estate was in a slump. Loans were defaulting real estate companies, and the investment companies providing them money kept going bankrupt. So, nearly all construction had stopped out of the blue, and even providers of raw materials were starting to feel the effects. What is happening in this story again? Man, this is what happens when you take it too long of a break. Also, there was an explanation as to why the collapse of the real estate market meant that nearly everyone would be forced to pay loans priced much higher than that were actually worth. You know, I should really open up my freaking dashboard just so I can make sure everything is running honky-dory. Oh, to God. Oh, my stream health is yellow. What does that even mean? Well, whatever. Looks like we're golden. As in the stream health is yellow. That was because even if a house bought for 1 million wools ended up worth 500,000 wools, the loan sum wouldn't decrease. Putting it simply, this meant that an investment of 1 million wools was struck to 500,000 wools. When people ended up in this situation in the stock investment, what did they do? They panicked because they don't know how to read these things. After what the fuck does that say? Writhing with the pain of loss for a while, there would come a moment when they were forced to accept the truth. And, dry laugh, they would say that austerity started tomorrow. Is that fun? Is that something we can do? I was starting to think that recession on the lunar surface was unavoidable. Of course, that relied upon the assumption that people kept living on the lunar surface. You're gonna be all alone with all your money. Yup. People were still rushing for the orbital elevator, so what advantage would one have in staying on the economically unstable lunar surface? Besides, with government intervention, the rules of the game would change for sure. Then, would companies and greedy people stay on the lunar surface? In and of itself, this was no place for a human being to live. In order for it to continue, it must possess and keep hold of something of some attraction. What if we all get naked and never wear clothes? What if people and companies leave the lunar surface and this environment can't be sustained anymore? What would happen? I sighed, muttering this. Well, we'd have to go back to Earth, wouldn't we? When we were born on the moon, we'd have no place to go back to. Right. We'd be stuck starving and probably got nothing better to do. Would we be dealt with as refugees? We'd be able to manage as long as we had the money, right? Marco's words were harshly realistic. I couldn't help but give a dry chuckle. I couldn't help but move my mic, thus making annoying noises everywhere. But I had to get it close to my mouth because I keep moving around on my desk. Shall we exchange our moves for dollars and yen while we can then? How about pesos? A lot of people are thinking the same thing, though, so the dollar to mole ratio has taken a sharp drop. If no one wanted something, its price dropped. That was true of both things and money. But then, people on Earth who have scrutinies denominated in wools will suffer a loss just for that. And if they take losses, investments will take a drop. And if investments take a drop, economic activity will contract. The economy as a whole will take a downturn, and people will be left out in the cold. My mind was filled with images of the Great Depression in the States, like from an old black and white movie. On top of that, one must not forget the problems specific to the lunar surface. And if the mule keeps falling like that, the price of import products will fly through the roof. Even without other problems, more and more people will be unhappy to scrape by. Unable to, please. I wonder how long peace and order will be maintained. People will break display windows rather than die from starvation because they can't afford food. The scariest thing isn't even having food, but not being able to afford it. Every import company goes bankrupt tomorrow. We won't even be able to import the wheat needed to bake bread from Earth. And the result? We have to eat our own poopy! Then, as you'd expect, the lunar surface would sooner or later be forced to close shop. A second later, Marco looked like he was about to cry. Even if he was a fanboy of Earth's 20th century, the lunar surface was his home country. There was a big difference between going on a day trip and buying a one-way ticket with no way back. However, I still giggled a bit at Marco. And that's merely a pessimistic hypothesis. After all, if people act accordingly to a dangerous scenario, most people know that things will reach that outcome. Which means you have a motivation for acting so that things don't turn out that way. I guess. You saw that decision of the VP and the big shareholders of Bull Stairs. Even if they knew that they would be the only ones suffering huge losses, they sold themselves to E.J. Rockford. Normally, that price would be unthinkable. But bearing in mind, what would have happened if they hadn't sold? They had no choice but to do so. Chris said that this deal was a decided thing from the start. That was right on the mark. If people could be made aware of what was really important, most of the time they would prioritize that. Even if you were left with some money, it was meaningless if you had nothing else. Besides, this was exactly what Barton did to me. Besides, Earth is large. There must be some financial institutions who made it with barely a scratch. With time and willingness to do price reductions, things would sort themselves out. Maybe. I sure hope they do. I'm not a doctor, but all we can do is pray. What is he again? An investing guy? A secretary? I lost track. In order to keep these fun days going, we had to endure some pain right now. Everyone knew that this was easy to understand, but hard to actualize. My sarcastic laugh, Marco displayed a crooked smile. If we had the money we won in the protection, it might have helped. When he realized he had muttered this aloud, he clapped a hand over his mouth. Whoa, I said something insensitive. I gazed at Marco across the desk. I won't get angry, you know. Sorry. I was a fool. On the contrary, I'm thankful that you keep on working under me. But, as Marco had rightly said, with money in the hundreds of millions of mules, we could have helped in this crucial situation. We could buy up toxic assets from financial institutions and provide huge funds, and that would increase the possibility of avoiding a bank run. But Barton took those funds. That was the reality. Oh, there goes gravity. When they just start flying up the dome. When one was in the world of stock and investment, one would necessarily encounter the dream of if and then. That was because when it came right down to it, even the most pessimistic being believed things would be alright when they invested. Oh, these 2 note boxes now. 2 word boxes. But reality was always harsh. I'm still gonna drink some. Freaking hot in this room. There was no precedent for wishes, prayers, and supplication making things go right. The stock price of Harold Bros was at a limit down. 1 hour and 30 minutes after the market opening. This was the same as vital signs ceasing in an operation room. It didn't take long for the office phone to ring. It's your boy. Fuck, I don't remember any of these characters. Marco took the phone, handling the conversation in an even tone before calling my name. Al. Yeah. It's Mr. Economica, that's the big one, right? A giant bull had made its entrance in the china shop. Is that a good thing? Are we done? Can we get out of here? Oh, it's the president guy. That's what they are saying. Short sales are being conducted on a systematic level and stocks are being sold at an unfairly low price. When I arrived at the General Government Building, neither Sadia nor Wallace had arrived yet, but Economica was talking nervously, unable to wait any longer. They said that judging from the volume, it must be a naked short. I heard it's legal. Short selling happened when you sold stock that you borrowed from someone else. Naked short was the act of selling stock that didn't exist, as you neither owned it nor had borrowed it. Of course, such fraudulent transactions were forbidden even in the world of finance, where you could create something out of nothing. However, although you heard about it, sometimes you never got to actually see it. Have you contracted the Stock Exchange Committee? Yes, but the committee head took the orbital elevator and fled to Earth, and 2 of the 3 legal advisors have tendered their resignations. It seems their real estate investments ended up in a failure. They also said that from now on they will have to earn their living as private lawyers, or they won't be able to put their daughters through college. That's capitalism. Yeah, no daughter gets to go to college. I said that, then went on. I heard the doctor's proposition to open the valve of the central bank. Apply it? Hearing my words, Economica palmed his face as if he was trying to contain a headache. I heard his explanation. He also said that it could lead to inflation, but above all, the political issue is too big. I could explain to you how difficult it is, but it would be like trying to describe the flu to someone who doesn't have it. It makes you want to lay in bed and feel miserable all day. It's not that hard. The origin of this crisis lies in the absurd profits made by the financial institutions and real estate dealers. Lots of companies have nothing to do with it. As I press Alt for some reason, okay. There are thousands of companies on the stock market, and everyone is put at risk because of the stupidity of less than 100 of them. For all who work seriously, it would be totally unacceptable. It would mean that the country would never, or would cover gambling losses. Thanks. The link between risk and return could also be inverted. It meant that if you took risk, you had to be prepared to obtain negative returns. So, you want to leave things as they are? Yes. Everyone understands this, so in exchange for our help, the financial institutions will surely face retaliatory measures, surveillance, new rules, or a special tax. Anyway, those who can operate anywhere will surely leave the lunar surface. Yes! Oh, it's been really warm in here. I can definitely take a drink to that. Thank you. Also, they make 10 times more money than the people who work by the sweat of their brows. They were the proof that immigrants could come to the lunar surface and make a fortune, you know. As I press that button too. No matter the choice, we are faced with a dead end. Economica was grasping his stomach, eyes closed, an agonized look on his face. Then he spoke. He smoked. That's why I intend to shut my eyes to some of the things that may happen. Just gonna walk around blind from now on. Do you have a plan? After he heard my question, Gazunoka's lips were trembling, as if he was about to cry. I curse the irony of fate, which forces me to tell you this. We're going to strip! You've already made an awful request to me once before, Mr. President. That could be taken the wrong way. I laughed as I said this. Chris told me to ask for the impossible. That's what I was doing. It failed, but the president reacted to my words with a painful laugh. He took a deep breath and uttered the following words. Herald Bros will hold their earnings announcement tomorrow. They told me that if you use their value model, the estimated value of held real estate bonds and insurance contracts, or something like that, amounts to 7 billion rubles. It's because the value of the funds invested in the real estate market keeps dropping. 7 billion. It's quite a sum. If they make that public, Herald Bros will surely suffer a bank run. This is why they begged for our help. Zudika's eyes pierced me. For the assets. They want to go back to book value, not fair market valuation. So, they want their assets to be valued not by their actual value, but when they bought them. So they wanted to say that until they were sold, assets kept the value they had when they bought them. And for assets whose value was undoubtedly going down in the current situation, they had a point. The real estate market was effectively going down way too fast. If this crisis passed, and if the whole mess with the medical reports also settled down, maybe real estate prices would go up and recover their value. If that was the case, we had the naive honesty to apply fair market value in that kind of panic. It would only increase anxiety. Everyone would lose. It's probably their argument. I understood, but I also felt Gazunoka's pain. Because it was the reason Gazunoka got to his actual position in the first place. You know, Avalon abused the book value system. We're building many houses of cards. I know. After that, book value was buried, and it was changed to fair market value. When you don't have the actual value of the assets in the financial statements, you cannot gain the trust of the market. It's also easier for companies to commit fraud. I know. And we were the ones to expose their violations. I know that too! Gazunoka was shouting and yelling. But there is no other way. Try earmarking an estimated 7 billion loss, it would be bull stairs all over again. How about the financing? Well, they say that they would do everything to make it happen, but I don't see it going very well, and besides, we don't have enough time. And just try postponing, I know how to read, the earning announcement. With just the anxiety it would generate, it would probably be like announcing the death of Herald Bros to the market. He has a point. When you say the financing is not going well, you mean even selling low? If it was right, or if I was right, then the countdown to Herald Bros' death had already started. No. No? Well, That's precisely the cause of the problem. Exasperation and fatigue seem to have taken their toll on Economica, who staggered as an anemic. In a rush, he tried winking at me, apparently, because that's cute. In a rush, I tried to support it, but he held his hand up towards me, indicating he was fine. Sorry, but that's the cause. I also understand what they're feeling. What do you mean by cause? Systematic short selling. Economica kept on repeating that term. This music is way too intense for companies being shit. But I thought that this was a fabrication. Systematic short selling. You could say that this was the one term companies always used as an excuse for company stock plummeting. Going to check OBS to make sure my levels are decent, and they're not. They're crap. I'm just gonna tilt this upward towards my mouth a bit. People from Herald Bros think that someone might be forcing a systematic short selling to lower the stock price and provoke credit uncertainty. What? I have no idea what that means. I'm trying, okay? It can't be! Totally can be. At least that's what they claimed over the phone. Can you just say that they're out of the gourd and ignore it? Out of their gourd. I want to be in a gourd. When someone talks about systematic short selling, most of the time they're out of their gourd. What's this talk of gourds all of a sudden? Do we even have those on the moon? I said this as someone who is deeply involved with the market. And I say this as someone who has accidentally started recording by mistake. Oh, there we go. Short selling is a difficult investment. Just look at the doctor. Besides him, how many people do you think have succeeded at it? If systematic short selling worked, everyone would be doing it. I don't know much about investments or the economy. Well, then why do you work here? It's the fucking moon, damn it! He said this, looking right at me. Though I may not look like it, I'm a politician, extremely sensitive to people's motives or hidden intentions. What does that mean? Now, the surface is in a sorry state. Everyone is panicking. Fear is rampant everywhere. What will happen next? How will the future be? Things like that. Anyway, short selling might indeed be difficult. However, I have some understanding of the stock prices, even though it's just a hobby for me. If you sell everything at once, things will go down. And if you buy up everything at the same time, they will go up. You mean... And that's all we need now. But short selling meant you had to rebuy the stock after selling it. The reason short selling was difficult was because it was when people would try to take advantage. I tried to tell him this, because then it could cut me off with a single gaze. And what if the goal was not to make money with the stock? What? You have seen how the Bull Stairs deal went. Did a run to the investment banks happen? No, but gotta... Sorry, I meant to say adjusting my mic had to happen, jeez. This type of shit you don't see when it's not live. Actually, you see it all the time. I digress. If it were to happen even once, you could buy a huge investment bank for an unbelievable sum. That's probably the way people see it too. Just taking it to a deep breath. And I think the guys at the investment banks saw it that way too. Just 4 moles a share. Bull Stairs' market price as a whole was the same as their main building. If you wanted to buy Bull Stairs a month before it happened, you would have needed 15 or even 20 times more. And if you had a rival, it could have gone as far as 30 or 40 times. Even though people said they had corrupted assets, the company was not in deficit. It was way too cheap. The deal Chris and her team got was too good to be true. We did not think it would be so simple, and others noticed how simple it was. And bank runs are just unreasonable. It's hard to predict when they'll happen. If you look at the cases on Earth, there were some caused simply by housewives chatting on the street. Bank runs can happen, or easily happen, but do they happen only with this prediction? Then they take advantage of that and buy everything cheap. Acts like this were referred to as green mail. You hinted at a hostile takeover by buying up the shares of a company. Then you made a profit by selling the shares at a high price to the company who didn't want to be bought. That's how green mail worked. It was close to a threat, but it was not illegal. suspicion Herald Bros had fallen under at the time was quite similar to this situation. They would be asked to sell their shares cheap if they didn't want to be crushed. Everyone could predict that if they did crumble, the economy would fall into chaos. The most profitable outcome was that the company would be liquidated for peanuts, and nothing would be left for their creditors. If that happened, then, just as Chris said, the only way to get money would be to sell the company. If a bank run happened, they would never be able to recover the trust by themselves. This was another factor adding to the anxiety. Then it would be too late. We had to proceed with extreme caution, even if people laughed at us and said that we were overthinking things or just being nervous. But what disgusted me was the fact that this sort of caution ought to be used even for ordinary investments. If they had been careful, they would never have done something as stupid as selling a contract compensating for 10 million mules of risky securities for 700,000 mules, and they probably would not have become so absorbed in real estate. Investments. Hey, you know what? I've been feeling pretty parched. I didn't even realize it. I'll take a drink to that. Noises. And it would not have resulted in a 7 billion mule loss. The reason for Gazunica's suffering was that he understood all of this and was still trying his best to reduce, even a little, the chance of Herald Bros falling into bankruptcy. I was not in a position to take responsibility, but I could tell him the truth. Gazunica was under public scrutiny, and for this, he was trying to make the difficult decision of bringing back the dirty accounting method used by Avalon. It meant that they were practically asking for help in concealing a 7 billion mule loss for their account settlements. We were the ones who defeated Avalon. How could we do something like that? This, rather. But did we have another choice? And the people at Herald Bros may well have good reason to be afraid. Does that mean you have proof that a group of speculators, is after them? Unfortunately, there are people who colluded in order to manipulate stocks. It did not always go well, so it's not like such groups could sweep the market. However, there were powerful groups of speculators who did have certain influence. But if you compared it to the investment banks, who were operating on the side of market system, they were like amateurs next to professionals. The amount invested were just incomparable. As I gave him an anxious look, Gazunica shook his head. No, it's just that someone went to Herald Bros asking for advice. Advice? Some company came, saying that they could be the target of such dangerous transactions and asked for help in raising capital. In this situation, they asked Herald Bros for help? Gazunica nodded slowly. Of course, the person who told me this violated confidentiality. She said that she could not keep it all to herself. She was crying, saying that she would regret hiding it for her whole life if anything were to happen. This. Which company was it? I was starting to get a bad feeling about this. It was Barton all over again. Herald Bros' survival was directly linked to the lunar surfaces. How could someone deep into it reveal information, saying they couldn't keep it to themselves? There was only one possible candidate. Fucking Chigara, I don't know. Gazunica spoke weakly, as if he was talking about something he could not handle anymore. It's Emerald Industries. Da da da. Although it was the answer I expected, I winced. Who's that again? It seems a suspicious client came to them. Gazunica grabbed a cigarette on the table, but he did not have the strength to light one up. He said something like, "You seem to have taken a fatal loss. Do you need capital?" I started picturing someone arrogantly pushing for a deal in a huge head office building. The kind of people who would gather unimaginable amounts of capital and whose only fear would be inflation. Is that Barton? I don't know. Emerald Industries, I know that's a name, I just forgot it. Seating comfortably on a sofa, smoking a cigar, and having an elegant conversation, laughing. As I was picturing the situation, I was starting to feel like crying. I thought I knew who that person might be. Emerald Industries, fatal loss, of course. Herald Bros knew about it, right? It seems so, because they were taking commissions to act as the sales agent for such suspicious securities or insurances. Emerald Industries was, no matter how nicely you put it, not a refined company. They had thought that if they thought there was a profit to be made, they would happily mess around with financial products from a different field. How much do they have to pay to cover the losses? According to their grasp of the situation, 18 billion, most. Not many companies could handle protection contract on that scale. Hello? It seems Emerald Industries was the underwriter. Hey, finally learning some more stuff. Underwriter. People who bear the risk of paying insurance money in insurance transactions. Wealthy nobles usually bore the risk back in the day and have good reputation. Or to have a good reputation. Another meeting for Undertaker is funeral director. They might have been plenty of people who dug graves and bore insurance payments to have a good reputation. Oh, okay. That's a term. Of almost all of the protections and protections the Doctor and I bought from Harold Bros. And they said this sum was only for Harold Bros. There are traces of transactions with other investment banks, and they have no idea of their losses. This information has not been made public yet, right? They said it wasn't. That's the reason why Harold Bros was astounded too. So it means somebody tipped them inside. They were sure of it. So they are really suspicious right now. There really is an ill-intentioned person with access to inside information. Then they could easily leak news blowing everything out of proportion. And they don't have to spread complete lies. It's also possible to give information extremely close to a lie, but with proof, right? I close my eyes. Without a doubt, Barton was the man going after Emerald Industries. And judging from Barton's investment philosophy, preparations such as hiring 1 or 2 moles could be regarded as a no-brainer. And there is one more reason why Harold Bros wants to go back to book value. Another reason? Yes, Emerald Industries lost a bet and endured a fatal loss, but someone was controlling all of the winning bets. Who? In the betting world, they had sunk into. This person was in a position akin to the creator. I don't see what you're getting at. Listen. The gambling world into which all financial institutions have sunk, Emerald Industries had the most qualified specialists, but they still took a fatal loss. Simply put, it's like we have proof that forecasts made up by anyone but this person are unreliable. It's the logical explanation indeed. And then I understood their shameful plan. If the predictions of the best mathematicians were off, then it's possible that this huge loss was a miscalculation too. And this creator, who was controlling such gamble at Emerald Industries, well, nobody's been able to contact him for a while. Since they can't contact the person responsible for it, even Emerald Industries don't have a full grasp on the contents of the gamble. They say that they have no idea how many losses occurred because of it. Imagine what would happen if information were to leak in this situation. What will people find in this black box? To them, it's probably like a Pandora's box full of disasters that could bring this world into an end. Kazuka finally started laughing. Fires will start here and there, and it will spread everywhere. When horrible coincidences keep happening like this, people start suspecting a conspiracy. That report started everything after all. And with all this, the financial institutions which carried the lunar surface on their backs are all over the place, and the dark shadow targeting Emerald Industries appeared there out of the blue. They are the company ruling over the orbital elevator, after all. A lot of people want it. Even I can name a few candidates. Like the American government, for example. Kazuka's words and the way he spat them out left me in a state of shock. Meanwhile, Kazuka continued looking almost cheerful. There are so many possible reasons. Turning the lunar surface for the coming space war, for example. Don't you think that's something those outdated idiots from Earth would think of? Or do you think it's too far-fetched? But then we see the reactions of every country on Earth to the medical reports are not normal. They look like they are seriously thinking about wiping the lunar surface. Do you think that sort of stuff happens only in movies? But remember the history of the 20th century. Developed countries at the time were really doing things like that in South America, Africa, or Southern Asia. Only the lunar surface was kept out of it. I was born on the lunar surface, in a very sheltered environment. I had been living isolated from the cruel history of Earth. Well, I can understand their anger. There are countries doing well without a government on the lunar surface, after all. It's like a proof of the ineffectiveness of their rule. That's why you begin to think that the one actually responsible for Emerald Industries' gamble was in fact a CIA spy, and that he'd gotten into a dangerous gamble knowing full well that he would lose. And when that day finally comes, another agent sent by the American government will buy Emerald Industries under the guise of a private citizen, or something like that. And the capital needs to buy Emerald Industries. It needs such a huge sum, you can't even fathom how one would gather it. So you get even more inclined to say that only a country could prepare such an amount of money. It would be easy to dismiss this as an absurd scenario. But this was. Barton we were talking about. I could not be surprised if a big country was behind him. But this hypothesis was too much fiction for me. If a major country was really behind Barton, he would not have had any reason to target my account to gather capital. Above all, it was not natural to think there were agents only in Emerald Industries. If ever someone was able to predict this report would make the real estate market crumble, then that person must also have predicted that Bull Stairs would be put in a difficult situation. But even when Bull Stairs was on the verge of bankruptcy, an event that could bring the economies of both Earth and the lunar surface to their knees, we did not see the agent in the dark suit sent from a major country. What prevented the lunar surface from crumbling was the sheer greed of people preparing a coup d'etat at E.J. Rockberg. However, Gazinka's idea was interesting, at least as a thought experiment. If someone could provoke a situation like Bull Stairs artificially, it would be because you could buy a company for cheap if you pushed it to the brink of bankruptcy first. You could say that it was an evolved form of the very thing Barton and his henchmen were trying to do to Avalon 4 years ago. Huh? Hold up. Oh, I got a burp and drink. Something struck me then. Literally, Gazinka just stabs him in the back there. An evolved form of 4 years ago. But I reconsidered that thought at once. And even if you include Earth, only a few people predicted that the real estate market would go down sharply, and ABS and CDO. Those people were Dr. Wallace, myself, and... Oh. I finally understood. That was it. It was this possibility. I was sure of it. You're hiding something from me. I bet it's like... Yeah, Hagana did. I don't know. Fuck. One thing. I have one thing to ask. I spoke, holding my breath. Yes, what? What was the name of this creator? You think one of your acquaintances might be a spy? After this little joke, Gazinka continued. She's an academic from Earth. Her name is... You said it all! Anna Hag! That's her name. Anna Hag. Hearing my words, Gazinka looked bewildered, and his smile tightened. You really know her? I turned my eyes away, unable to answer. I got shit to do, man. I was sure of it. It was her. That was why Barton had hired Hagana. Hagana created the concept upon which ABS was based, and she was the subject of fierce approaches from headhunters. Emerald Industries must have trusted her right away. Then Hagana proposed a dangerous gamble, and going on accumulating risk. She did this because if things were left as they were, maybe Emerald Industries would not buy ABS, or they would just buy a little. In order to buy Emerald Industries cheaply, Barton had to send his collaborators in and have them make unreasonable gambles. I closed my eyes and moaned. It was so skillfully planned out, my stomach started to hurt from frustration. This was what predicting the future meant. It meant your girlfriend tries to destroy the moon? I don't know. How? Are you alright? I answered, groaning. Ex-girlfriend? Your conspiracy theory might be true after all. What? I know. Anna Hag. And I also have the idea of who's trying to get Emerald Industries, and these two are working together. Ugh. Truth springing from lies. What is this, DR3? Gazinka was opening and closing his mouth, like a goldfish lacking oxygen. The chicken race that got... Chicken race? Race? Ugh, race! That got Bull Stairs and E.J. Rockberg. They're trying it on Emerald Industries, I'm sure of it. Some would call it insane. Others would say it was an operation backed by calculations. People say that this difference between investment and speculation is that you call it investment when it goes well, and speculation when it does not. Drink. Sorry you had to be here for this. What am I doing? I'm reading a visual novel today. What they had in common was that they required nerves of steel. I gotta finish it, man. I gotta get to the ending. If ever the news of that Emerald Industries could go bankrupt were to break out, it would result in turmoil with the medical report. It would definitely kill the real estate market, and all financial products with names such as ABS or CDO would catch fire. It would ignite all the explosives that the investors from not only the lunar surface but also the whole world have swallowed because of their greed. Blood and spine. What the heck is this cool? This is cheap effect that is very funny to look at. I don't know. Did Hal just get knocked in the face? Blood and spinal fluid from the investors would get everywhere. It would be an economic killing field. Like, metaphorically, right? Or did they just kill each other? Do you think we could do something about it? We can't let such a dangerous thing happen, right? If we fail the lunar surface, no. The whole world could crumble. Maybe we can. I know them after all, right? What? I could call them up. She's like literally stuck in an apartment complex somewhere. How? You mean the Rotary? Wait, what? Going to a sushi go-round now? No. In fact, there's a chance I could obtain some equivalent to the huge losses Emerald Industries has to pay. Huh. Kazinika's mouth was wide open, and he looked at me, astonished. It meant that I was participating in a bet that could make the lunar surface crumble. They say they want to cancel the transaction contract. Maybe a large part of Emerald Industries' loss can be made void. Is it gonna furrow his brow? Brow. Fuck. Why do people do that? What do you mean, maybe? You're the contractor, you can avoid it if you want to, right? Or do you mean Emerald Industries wants to pay its loss no matter what? He's seen a female Bowser. Your stream shouldn't be a surprise. Dude, I just saw the funniest video on that. Oh wait, yeah, I mean everyone probably saw that video too, but god damn. Now I have to look up pictures again later. Or do you mean Emerald Industries wants to pay its losses no matter what? Hey, this is probably a one-time thing. I just need to finish this game to get it out of the way because I never saw the ending. After that, who knows what? No, says Hal. Maybe I will stream again. Not anytime soon. What if Barton had already anticipated all of this when he hired Hagana? There was no point thinking about it. Nobody knew how much of it happened by chance or was planned. It sounded like a joke, but there was a thing investment banks had to take into account when hiring a brilliant trader. That thing was luck. And crossover picks. I gave a bet to the very person who was going after Emerald Industries. Of my own free will, of course, we made a deal. I did not say it was taken away from me. It was a contract, and we certainly made a deal. This isn't the same as quibbling over a few mules, paying for a dinner. I really don't understand your world. Even if I don't completely understand, I think it's the same as the depth of a man's greed. You cannot measure it. But if that is true, what will we do? Is there a way? I don't fucking know, man. I asked Saudi about the legal stuff. However, with a completely different perspective, we might be able to stop this plan. Or his plan. But how? I spoke, trying to hide my lack of confidence. Anna Hogg is an old friend of mine. You see, we could honey trap her or something. There was a high possibility that Hagana knew Barton's objective, and maybe she also knew why he was going after Emerald Industries. This was because I didn't think she was doing it for the money, and she didn't seem to have been threatened into it. Yeah, she just wants to make you cry, dude, because you were mean to her in the first game. If I was right, maybe Hagana's reasons for helping Barton had something to do with his motives for going after Emerald Industries. And if we knew Barton's objective, we would also be able to negotiate with him. If you know people's true motives, then you can propose an alternative. But what if it fails? Kazinика asked. I definitely failed with Chris. Ooh. Then, turn the rotary on. Well, we're in a countdown to the lunar surface's destruction anyway. Use it as a threat, if needed. I I shrugged my shoulders a little. If it were to work, it would be like setting a chicken race on each other. Ha ha ha, I see. Understood. I will do all I can, of course. Then Gazinga said this with a look on his face like he had flies swarming in his stomach. But the only thing I can do now is push for returns of bank value, hiding losses. I let a few seconds pass, but I decided quickly. I want to pose how you deal with the fair market value problem. Besides, you certainly have racked your brains enough for the two of us. For an instant, Gazinga looked about to cry, but of course he did not, because he's a big boy. Thank you for saying that. I will tell them the hero of the lunar surface agreed with me. I forgot people were calling me that at one point. Understood. That doesn't count, but I'm gonna drink anyways because it is hot in here. I sighed heavily after answering. Finding out Barnes' objective, purpose, and alternative. Propose an alternative, my bad, I don't know how to read. And have the contract with Emerald Industries cancelled. If I could pull it off, then Emerald Industries would be able to avoid a loss for over 10 billion mools. That in itself was worth way more than 10 billion. We could not afford even the smallest possibility of Emerald Industries going bankrupt. Even a trillion would not be enough to clean up the mess caused by the panic it would surely provoke. It was the safest to assume that if things caught fire, it was all over. I could not fail. I have to flirt. But I remembered the way Hagana looked, and I started feeling discouraged. I would have to extract information about Barton from her eyes, which looked like they had lost interest in everything. I doubted she'd give up that information easily. So, there was another new hurdle to clear. In order to get information on Barton, I had to give her something of equal value. You have to work out, you have to get swole, and you have to be all like, yo, I'll do anything. What could I give her? Gotta give her that sexy six-pack, man. I know you've been hiding it this whole time. Even paying her 30 or 40 billion mools would be useless. I didn't think she'd yield to violence, and she wouldn't listen if I begged. Maybe I should ask Risa? Is that her name? What? For advice. Of course, I wanted to solve the problem myself, but I was not allowed to fail. I would use every tool at my disposal. She just wants that Hal dick, dude. It's so obvious. It's the top tier tsundere of the year, man. Gazinka left the room. As I was heading towards the hotel, I sent Lisa a message. She replied almost immediately, but I stopped walking as soon as I saw the content. Sorry, I don't think I'll be able to help you. I wasn't able to tell you this yesterday, but Hagana refused to see me. She said she wanted that Hal dick. Hagana refused to see Lisa? I couldn't understand why. Hagana hated me, not Lisa. What was the meaning of this? She hates everyone, but she secretly loves everyone. But the message was not finished. I gave up and went home. But just then a person from the hotel gave me an envelope. It was from Hagana, and inside, a ticket for the orbital elevator. And one last word. Sorry. What was Hagana thinking? That was the end of Lisa's message. She wants you to leave? Get out, dude. Get out of here, man. She's gonna be the last person on the moon. An unspeakable fear started growing inside me. It's called a fear erection, dude. We were in the very place where the lunar surface's fate would be decided. But Hagana, who was right in the middle of it, gave Lisa a ticket to the orbital elevator. It was like she was predicting something. It can only mean that the moon has a giant creepy face this whole time, and it's gonna crash. She really thinks the lunar surface will crumble. A fear akin to nausea was rushing up my throat. I frantically tried to crush my fear under my teeth and walked faster towards the hotel. My fast walk soon became a trot, and then I suddenly was running at full speed. When I arrived to the Royal Central Hotel, I was out of breath. When I came here 8 years ago, I was only hesitating, and 4 years ago, I could only sell myself short. In this moment, I couldn't spare a single thought for the hotel's prestige or its majestic appearance. Panting, I got out into the elevator and headed towards the royal suite. I was still nervous, and above all, my anxiety would not go away. Hagana was all I could think about. I could not forget her profile, which looked like she had lost interest in everything, to the point that it hit you with a feeling of resignation. And if Hagana really predicted the crumble of the lunar surface while being in the middle of it, I could not help but make associations I did not like. I also felt that if I thought like this, I would be able to understand Hagana's mysterious words. Her mysterious words? Sorry? Sumimasen? Something like, Barton's objective was aligned with hers, but she did not care about Emerald Industries or anything that went along with it. They were going in the same direction, but their financial destination was different. And I did not understand that. However, I felt like I finally could. In fact, it was very natural and even logical answer. Fuck, reading. They were going in the same direction, but their final destinations were different. Which meant that the big difference was in the distance they each had to cover. And how would you express that fact? That Hagana helped Barton using Wallace's words. Chicken race. In a chicken race, what happened when someone miscalculated the distance left? He fell off the edge of a cliff, right into hell. That was right in front of room 5002 numbers. This room was at the very top floor of the hotel, where I had almost lost everything 8 years earlier, and it was the place which gave me the opportunity to find myself again 4 years ago. The whole time I kept thinking about Hagana. It even felt like, for 4 years, I was always acting on the basis of what she would think of me. However, the reason I was able to move forward towards my goals was surely not my inner strength and not even my own guts. The only thing that kept me together when I was bending, breaking, or even now, as I was on the verge of shattering into pieces, was the support of Eleanor, Chris, and Lisa. Without that, I wouldn't be where I am now. In that case, I was really lucky. It was almost a miracle. This is some, like, prep for the climax shit right now. We're flashbacking to all the waifus that he rejected, and I had also had to think that way. How it must have been for Hagana, who was alone all that time, with no waifus at all. Her face, looking like she lost interest in everything, and the ticket she gave to Lisa. She was predicting the lunar surface's crumble. No. Hagana. Maybe Hagana came here precisely to make the lunar surface fall. By pretending to help Barton, she kept accumulating losses so huge in Emerald Industries that even he would not be able to cover them, and she would mess up the lunar surface, which she probably thought was good for nothing. The lunar surface was held up solely by the economy, therefore, only though its economy could destroy you. Could you destroy it? Oh, that's right, you can't farm shit on the moon? That's why it sucks! Hagana had seen through this vulnerability. With her dark eyes, which saw through the symbolical words of numbers, she calmly found the switch. The switch that would turn the light of the lunar surface off. I held the key card up to the door. By doing this, I had acquired this key card in exchange for a huge amount of profits. It was worth 30, maybe 40 billion wools. I didn't know anymore. At this very instant, I felt like it had extremely strong symbolic meaning. And then he just snapped it into, and went back down to the lobby to ask for another one. If Hagana was really trying to destroy the lunar surface, I was the one responsible for it. I had to see with my own eyes what the hand that I had let go of was grasping in the depths of despair. I had to see with my own eyes the consequences of my inability to read stuff, actions. And the price I had to pay for this was the profit of my dreams, which I had been chasing all this time. Don't spoil anything, just don't raise your expectations too high. I mean, they're pretty low already, man. I got nothing. Is Hagana a dude? Because that would be the most disappointing plot twist of the century. I had to let go of my dreams and face reality. Not as the cocky investor who was called the hero of the lunar surface, but as the real Yoshiharu Kawura. Guy who knew nothing of reality 8 years ago, and seriously believed you could make any dream come true with just a laptop. And a stupid scarf. I was putting the key into the lock of the door leading to 8 years ago. Wait, am I doing that right now? Yeah, I have enough water. I'd opened the door of a genuine time machine. Was my mouse on the screen that whole time? Oh, my bad. I do not wish she was a dude. That would be very confusing. The now silent hotel room made it feel like I was just picking up where I'd left off at the church before. Standing in front of the door to the main bedroom, I balled my right hand into a fist and prepared to knock. But as I raised it to shoulder height, it hesitated against my will. Don't hesitate! Knock harder! I screamed in my heart, mustering all my might, and I knocked on the door. And pouring out my feeling. Oh, hey, we completed the second to last node. We're almost there, boys. Let's finish this. And pouring out my feelings, praying that I could cross over space and time, I called out her name. Agana! As that word passed through my throat, it felt as though it had been 8 years since I last uttered it. In truth, it really had been 8 years since I called it out as a name to stop someone in their tracks. For those 8 years, this name was merely an epithet for someone unreachable in my past. Unreachable? Words? Although you've seen some Trap Agana fan art that exists, I shouldn't be surprised. That was why, even if there was no answer, I would not falter anymore. Agana, I know you're in there! She's under the couch, man. That's the place. My voice was absorbed by the room's soundproof floor and walls. Oh, hey, it's perfect for live streaming. I clenched my fists and knocked on the door. Agana, I have to talk to you! Then, driven by momentum, I put my hand on the doorknob. It felt almost anticlimactic. As it turned under my hand, the door was not locked. Oi! I hear sirens in the background, but that's actually real life. That's... It better be real life. I don't want any fucking bad shit happening to potential lifers. After thinking for a mere instant, I boldly opened the door. Oh shit! She left you. In that moment, it genuinely seemed as though I had been sent back into the past. She left you again! You got double-ditched, man! Hey, fool me once, shame on me. The inside of the main bedroom was dark. Agana? The blackout curtains were completely closed. The bedroom was so dark you wouldn't think it was still daytime. As I took a step inside, I had yet more vivid reminders of the church 8 years ago. It was the scent of the room. It was Agana's fragrance, which hadn't changed since back then. Agana. I called out her name. That's like the last thing you've been saying. That's like the only thing you've been saying for like the past 10 minutes now, dude. But this time, I was not calling out in the darkness, not knowing whether anyone was there. You were, oh, she is there. Okay. I was calling out to her with full knowledge that she was here. She's right over there. You know, we have chairs. Agana was sitting at the side of the bed, laptop open in her knees. She lost her face or something? Hey, if I still recorded and edited videos, I would totally add some like cool sunglasses on top of that or something. She was staring at the screen with emotionless eyes, like stupid emotionless, like zero-sum eyes, occasionally manipulating the touchscreen. How is she doing that? Next to her was a bottle of expensive-looking wine and a glass. Oh, I thought that was fucking like cough medicine, dude. Now that I look at it again, it's very fancy cough medicine, but still. It had been 8 years since then. I was aware that I hadn't changed at all in 8 years, but this might not have been the case for Agana. Dude, she got a tattoo and everything. You just gotta look at her back. Agana. I called out her name once more, but she didn't respond. Did she not hear me? Dude, she's busy. She's trying to get better at Fortnite. Right after thinking that. What? There was no rejection or disgust, not even concern. I was about to recoil from the mechanical sounding word. I spoke in the very next instant. I want to ask you something. Huh? What's your Epic Games account? Agana was silent. She kept gazing at the screen of her laptop, nearly without blinking. Why was Barton so relentless about buying Emerald Industries? I don't know. After having answered, Agana lightly pushed a key. Then, why do you help Barton? There was a pause. Also, do you own a Nintendo Switch? Agana! I have no reason to tell you. Rejection. Oh, yeah, dude, you should invite her to coffee first. Jesus, you're too forward, man. I took a deep breath. Then I went on. This was your battle plan? Just outright ask her? You have a reason. And then, for the first time, Agana looked at me. What was this? What? We got moon runes? Am I missing something? The dark room, with the curtains pulled, lit only by the dim light of the laptop screen, the darkness was all the more acute. And yet, Hagana's eyes stood out, even darker than the rest of the room. Turns out Hal was ninja all along. He doesn't stream with girls though, man. That's why Hagana rejected him. What are you doing? What you are doing might cause the lunar surface to collapse. But Hagana showed no reaction to these words and turned her gaze back towards the screen. I kept on undeterred. Bull Stairs was about to go bankrupt, and we managed to overcome that crisis somehow. But right now, Harold Bros is staggering. And if, amidst all this, Emerald Industries reported a huge losses and ended up being at risk of collapsing, then that would sign the death warrant of the lunar surface. Oh. Yeah, really? I just... Some of these buttons just light up on my laptop and I just press them. That's all I've been doing for the past 8 years. Hagana spoke this word in a low voice, her gaze still fixed on her screen as she worked on something. I still clung on. Right. Now we're acting to protect the lunar surface from the outright collapse. But the situation has been developing too fast, and there is only so much we can do on our own. So, we don't have time to observe how Barton's chicken race plays itself out. If anything really did happen, then we would have no way to save the lunar surface. Hagana, you must know why Barton is so intent on going after Emerald Industries, right? Please tell me. 'Cause she is Barton! Just face mask revealed. Hagana was still staring at her screen, and without changing her expression in the slightest, she said this. What would you do if I told you? I'm going to save the lunar surface. I yelled without realizing. Even so, Hagana did not react at all. She gave me that creepy horror face still. No matter how apathetic they may be, humans had something called the spinal reflex. When they heard a loud noise out of the blue, their body would react, whether they wanted to or not. But Hagana did not move. She got the spine replaced, man. It's pure vibranium now. She looked like an actual life-size doll. Hagana, so I heard you gave an orbital elevator ticket to Lisa. Shit. ... You're thinking the lunar surface might just actually collapse, aren't you? No, you. I continued speaking, struggling my hardest to keep myself from raising my voice. Aren't you actually trying to cause the lunar surface to collapse? Hagana was silent. They must have fucked up her plastic surgery job and just removed the face and mouth entirely. She neither refuted nor acknowledged. She was just toying with the laptop on her knees. Hagana! Bitch, you gotta point these things out. Oop, accidentally pressing buttons again. There we go. As I looked at the screen, I shuddered. Ugh. It wasn't like there was anything inappropriate on the screen, nor was it like that thing in horror movies where you think someone's writing a novel, but they're writing "help me" over and over. She had the default skin this whole time. Even so, I shuddered. Girl, I'll get you a battle pass, please, just listen to me. What Hagana had been working on was solitaire. As in the card game. Oh shit, she's way more classy, dude. I don't have time for your free-to-play bullshit. This came installed. I recommend Microsoft Pinball myself, but, you know, teach their own. To think Hagana was killing time with a game in a situation like this, I had a terrifying feeling that something was wrong with her. That should be its own original novel in and of itself. Hagana plays solitaire. Hagana! I called out her name, as if to stop someone from going away. Hagana, you know you can move the king over here and end the game pretty quickly. Hagana, without her computer, was staring blankly into the void. She seemed out of it, as if she'd given up on everything. Hagana! I crouched and extended my hand towards her shoulder. Only then did Hagana react promptly, cruelly rejecting my hand. Don't touch me. Hagana, but... Don't come any closer! Hysterical voice, just like 8 years ago. It's my solitaire. It's a single-player game. Hagana was staring into the void, not straying from it at all. You're right, though. That was a very underwhelming plot twist. She's into Yu-Gi-Oh! God, those card packs are totally pointless. Most of these are banned. You feigned offering advice to Emerald Industries and accumulated huge quantities of financial product that you knew would collapse. That much was in line with Barton's plan. But you ended up involving insanely huge amounts of money. Am I right? Why did you do this? Are you right now? It's like, are you... Oh, wait, as you are right now, my bad. It was like she was trying to die with the lunar surface. I did not voice these words out loud. But I could tell Hagana knew what those words I was holding back. Or what words I was holding back. Because she was looking at me. It doesn't matter what I do. It's none of your business. She did not even call me by my name. It is so... I yelled, because my emotions were getting the better of me. I was at a loss for words for a moment. But I could still say this. It's my business too! How so? There was no emotion at all in her eyes as she gazed at me. That was why her question struck me like a knife straight into my heart. How is it your business? You know, I haven't thought that far ahead. I'm pretty sure they're gonna make a visual novel after me though, so it is my business. Somehow the words would not come out. The words I tried my hardest to muster turned out pathetic. Are you really asking me that? At this instant, for some reason, I felt like Hagana's presence had grown into darkness. Or in the darkness. She is Batman. How is it your business? After Hagana asked me this one more time, I finally spoke. Because he likes you. I want to protect the lunar surface. I don't think so. Hagana then averted her gaze, as if saying that the discussion was over. But ooh, that's an angle. The heck? No wonder there's trap art. But I grabbed her shoulders, and she tried to push me away, or push away my arms. Do you really understand what you're doing? You're about to destroy the lunar surface, thousands of people, hundreds of thousands of people's lives, and the dreams and hopes of the people who have been chasing after. It turned into a struggle. The glasses were pushed over, and the laptop got thrown aside. I accidentally closed out the solitaire game without saving. The lunar surface had no dreams or hopes. Hagana finally spoke these words. Wait, what? They're all a lie? The lunar surface has no dreams or hopes. It was a giant VR simulation this whole time. Nothing! Such things don't exist. I've never seen such things. I've only seen people suffering. I have not seen a single good thing on the lunar surface. So, it should just be gone. Hagana tried to free her wrist from my grasp. The usual difference in strength between a man and a woman was flipped here, since one of us was raised on Earth, and the other was born on the moon. I was about to be shaken off, but I tried my best to hang on. Even so, are you going to wipe out the lunar surface for this reason? Yes. Hagana said this softly. It should just disappear. She almost looks like she's about to, like, do the caaaares thing, you know? The carnival dance thing. God, I'm just destroying this scene. The sight of her eyes gazing at me took my breath away. Insert caaaares there and post. Oh wait, this is live. Hagana played Despacito 3. The sight of her eyes gazing at me took my breath away. Hagana's eyes were not apathetic anymore. In those eyes, I could feel clear hatred directed at me. Am I the cause? Hagana gave no reply to those words. Yes, you lost your legs for a brief period of time. I saw some kid wheelchairing around the moon with no guardrails or ramps, and I was like, this whole place should go to hell. But her eyes were more than eloquent in that regard. I'm really sorry about what happened then. I didn't love Barton sexually. It was a miscommunication. I've always wished I could do it over again, and do it right, if that were ever possible. Even though my emotions were boiling deep within my heart, I could not find the words to express them. That would be a great thumbnail. God damn it. What was this frustration? Finally, my muster my words, and spoke. I never stopped thinking about you for the last 8 years. Okay, you do that, Hell. I'm just gonna go grab this real quick, just in case. I mean, I'm probably gonna upload this live stream as its own video once it's done, you know. So we gotta get something in time. Ignore that stuff you see on that screen. It's nothing important. They're just RTX memes. Liar! They're not memes, they're dreams. Hagana replied with one word. One single word, so extremely short, so sharp. Do you think I'm going to believe that lie? It's not a lie! I said this, on the verge of tears. It wasn't a lie. For the last 8 years, Hagana had been the center of my thoughts. But the wound I felt from her disbelief overshadowed my desire for her to know the truth. God damn it. Waifus before laifus, dude, come on. Hagana was looking at me with eyes filled with hatred. Haven't you read, like, all of my Facebook posts? Fuck! So it really wasn't possible to fix this mistake from 8 years ago. Nor was it possible to fix me from being able to read 3 years ago. I did something worthy of your hatred. Obviously, you wouldn't end up hating me, but I always wanted to apologize. I wanted to apologize, and do it all over. I've thought about that constantly for the last 8 years. That's why, in case you ever came back one day, I was always thinking about what to do to get you to forgive me, and always acted in order to better myself. I've been working my hardest for that goal. He hasn't been doing any thinking at all, actually. I was on the verge of tears. You've been on the verge for a while, man. You sure you don't want to build a couple computers or something? Mustering all I could to say this, as my voice grew hoarse. Ghana was glaring at me with eyes filled with hatred. Oh, she beat you to the punch, man. Out of the blue, with her eyes still full of hatred, a tear fell from the corner of her eye and rolled down her cheek. Why are you telling me this lie? It's not a lie. You've got to believe me. Liar! Liar! Agana averted her gaze from me, just like a child pulling a tantrum. She tried to shake off my arms. Every time she cast her face down, tears would fall from her eyes. I thought it was coming out of her tiny mole. It's just a tear duct, just extruded from her eyeballs. I didn't understand a thing about the situation. I couldn't understand it all, so much that it was sad. You know, I totally would get around to using Instagram, except I hate taking pictures. Why didn't she believe me? Why did she decide on her own that my words were lies? But I digress. It is a valid argument. I'll see you on Reddit. And why was she crying? I was about to catch up to her. I had once gone to the far end of the lunar surface to take back what I had lost. There was no way I would let her go, no matter what. And then, why do you think that I gave him that outrageous profit I made? Ghana was not about to stop resisting, and she wouldn't look at me in the eye. Even so, I ignored that and kept on talking. How many risks have you... How many decisions do you think I had to take to make that much profit? This might have been completely straightforward for you guys, but for me, it was hard. It was really hard. Man, I had to go through like 2 games, 2 waifus, and they were both blonde and interesting. One wore glasses, but I did it. I did it because that was the path that led to the dreams I had always been chasing after, and because I thought this was the only way he would ever forgive me. Agana's efforts weakened. I said this as if to press her for answers. That's why, when I won that bet, more than the happiness of having realized my foolish dreams of 8 years ago, this was what I had thought. Now, I have only one dream left. That was... Despacito 2. As Hagana tried to hide her face with her arms, I muttered all my strength to force them open, just like 8 years ago. That was to start over with you. Hagana looked at me, her face crumpled from having broken down crying. Not a shred of adulthood she had acquired in these 8 years. Her face was that of a young girl. It was 8 years ago. She did not control her emotions, and who was at a loss for what to do in the face of reality, where nothing would go the right way. confirm that real quick. Yep, child face. Call the cops. Hagana looked at me, the hatred now gone from her eyes. Yet, as her face contorted in pain, she said this to me while averting her eyes. Why are you lying like this? I was also on the verge of tears again. Drink every time this guy's on the verge of something. Why? Why won't you believe me? What do I have to do to get you to believe me? I'm not lying, it's the truth. Just cry already, bro. It's fine. Big boys can cry. I was still holding Hagana's arms and shook them with all my strength. Yeah, keep shaking the baby. See if that helps. This was now the only way I had left. No words could express the emotions I had in me in this instant. Give her the good old German suplex. That'll get through to her. I had no other way but to convey my anger with all my strength. Just like an animal in a cage. Or you can explain to her what killing bites is. That might help. Hagana progressively stopped resisting. She could only hang her head and let me have my way with her without any strength. That's a look. Confronted with this sight, I suddenly felt like I was truly doing something horrible to her. Maybe it was not that she did not believe my words, but that she did not want to believe. It would kind of make her look like the villain if she was just one apology away from destroying the world. You could cover your losses with profits. At least she's not a lolly vampire. That would make this complicated, but it was not the same for human emotions. Wasn't I only arbitrarily forcing my feelings on Hagana? Wasn't I only gouging my wounds? Or old wounds? Just as my confusion was fading, the train of thought started violently gnawing at me. But even so, faced with Hagana hanging her head down in front of me, there was only one thought that had crossed my mind. She is thick, though. No, not that. I realized there were words that I had to tell her. Thanks, man. Been holding it on for all these years. I still love you. Oh, that's sweet. That's cute. What do you mean still? Have you ever told her you loved her? Wait, I think he might have before. I wasn't paying attention though. I didn't care about the lunar surface. I didn't care about Barton. I didn't care about Lisa. Wait, take that back. This was the only truth for me. But these words would certainly not reach Hagana. The silence dragged on. Time passed. And even as I was fooling around, the market would get closer to collapse, and Herald Bros would be under pressure. I could not stand still. This was the same for matters of love. Just like Chris did, just like Eleanor did, to settle things once and for all. There was Hagana's laptop that had been cast away. By investigating it, maybe I would figure out something. Even if it was locked, I'd ask Sarov or something, or someone. I could break in. My hands let go of Hagana's arms. It was at this instant. Liar. So I held back onto her arms. No, I'm not a liar. I swear I love you. Just, let me mess with your computer real quick. Copious amounts of alcohol would fix a lot of this commentary, but I digress. It's only water for me. With her eyes cast down, so I couldn't see her expression, Hagana uttered this word. Liar. I mean, maybe I got like a couple. She repeated that word. I did not even feel like persuading her. I really felt sadness well up in my heart. Liar. But Hagana did not stop. Her eyes still cast down, she said it one more time. Liar. I saw you on news with that blonde girl, dude. You were holding hands and shit. That word was blunt and clear. There was a will. There was a foundation to it. This was a word meant to be thrown at someone. Staring at Hagana. There was only one way I could respond to that. I'm not lying. Hagana raised her face. Liar! I'm not lying. It's true. Why won't you believe? Then, just when I said that much, then who is that woman? Oh! I was joking, but she does point it out. Time seemed to stop. I think her name's like Eleanor or something. She's like second waifu. Your first waifu. What? Hagana was glaring at me. She was glaring at me with eyes once more filled with emotions. That's why she destroyed the moon, because the blonde chick was on TV with him? But it wasn't hatred or resentment. It was anger. Who was that woman? What are you talking? But she wouldn't even let me get the last word out. I've seen the movie when I was on Earth. I'd seen that you had another lover. I'd seen it, Hal. You were happy with someone else. Okay, that was an actress, a hot actress at that, and that was an actor portraying me, man. Samuel L. Jackson, for some reason? I don't think they got the casting call correct, but I digress. I was completely dumbfounded. This was too much. I was about to pass out, and I was seeing flashes of light in front of my eyes. It wasn't because I didn't understand what Hagana was saying, no. It was because I did understand. She was a solid second place, but you know, silver, you get gold. There was a fine line between stupidity and genius. Hagana had always been like this. She was terrifyingly intelligent. She could look at two characters and be all, people are shipping them, I may add. She was terrifyingly intelligent, and I could instantly grasp all the possible moves you could make in a game like Othello. And while normally she was distrustful like a stray cat, she was a girl who, at the darnest of times, would be full of jealousy, openings, and innocently believed things. Disney ruins relationships again. I took a deep breath, filling my lungs, compressing all of the anger, consternation, confusion in my heart, and that pent-up resentment at how the world was screwed up before lighting it on fire and spitting it at her. Eleanor is just a friend with benefits. Are you an idiot or what? I pulled Hagana's arms toward me, peering deep into her eyes. I screamed at her. The whole thing was a lie. What is? What you saw, it was a made-up story. All you saw was that ridiculous movie, Avalon's Defeat. That movie was a made-up story. Liar. I'm not lying. Did you really believe that thing? It said based on a true story in the trailer. That means it's real. Because of the anger, I couldn't vent. I couldn't breathe either. Even so, I forced myself to open my mouth, and I screamed the following words as if I was spitting out my life. It's all a made-up story. I had nothing to do with it. I haven't even watched it myself, but I can somehow imagine. I bet they had me get together with Eleanor at the end, am I right? Yeah, there was actually this really graphic sex scene, which was very unbecoming of a Disney movie. A lot of kids were, like, complaining, faltering upon seeing how angry I was. Hagana nodded slightly. It was a pretty well-directed sex scene. I looked up at the ceiling, and even though I was about to lose all reason from anger, I gathered all I could to form a sentence. The facts were completely different. Eleanor got engaged the other day on Earth. There was nothing wrong, or nothing going on with me. There has never even been a single thing. Hal, you gotta... I know you're just trying to hammer it down and all for the real best girl, but like, you held hands with her, man. That's some lewd shit. We have that on thumbnail, man. But then with Chris, oh, you can't even start with Chris, man. She got hella close. Chris, did you just say Chris? Upon hearing that name, I shook Hagana's arms as if to vent my anger. I heard Chris too. I heard her a lot. But what should I have done? I mean, you could have used a condom, that might have helped. She stayed with me for 4 years during my rehab. She sincerely wanted to do investment work with me. She had a cute smile. I fucking can't read. She had a cute smile. She was skilled. She's a hard worker. She's a girl that any man on the lunar surface would be a fool to not make his girlfriend. But I'd already had someone I loved. I had no choice but to turn her down. I was focused straight on Hagana's face. I was breathing so heavily my shoulders were heaving. I had no idea how I could say, or even how I could say it, or what I could say. I don't even know how to read this after that comment. This is normally where I cut after taking a break, but this is, you know, we gotta carry on. We're almost done here. By the word world standards. Hagana was certainly a genius, and the plan she made up by teaming with Barton functioned beyond perfection. If it all worked out, even the people who had nothing to do with it, or to do with finance, would sing their tales for decades. I was sure of it. For better or for worse, she must have carved her name in the history of humanity as the person who destroyed one city, the lunar surface, with her brain alone. But this was only as far as her specialized domain was concerned. People always have their strengths and weaknesses. And there was only one thing I had just recently learned. Even a cruel and calculating veteran of short selling, devil of a man whose very humanity was questionable, could be a complete fool when it came to the matters other than investment. Hagana hadn't grown in the slightest. Well, maybe we were on a level in that regard since I hadn't grown at all myself. I mean, she got a haircut and she looks taller, and I don't know if it's the suit, but something, her assets are definitely more pronounced. Anyways, but Hagana had talent on another level than mine. This was precisely why her wrong impressions had caused this whole situation. I was dumbstruck by the whole thing. I should not have signed that release on the movie form. Should have gone to the screening. They had free drinks, I turned them down. If this was what reality was made of, then now I understood the situation. And it was way too realistic. Watching anime at the time, when they finally uploaded the new season, that movie was all made up. I took a deep breath, turned myself towards Hagana, and spoke slowly. I've never gone out with anyone, even at my age. See how stupid I am, but I have loved you for these past 8 years. Hagana, love you. I finished speaking. Finally, I could breathe normally. Hagana kept on looking at me, completely baffled. I simply slowly let go of her wrist. I had been gripping so tightly, my hands had gone stiff, and it was difficult to let go. Or maybe it was just instinctive here. Maybe I had been bound by that horrible memory of 8 years ago, and thought that if I let go of Hagana, I would never be able to hold her again. I mean, Chris is a solid bound TBH. After 8 long years, I had finally been able to tell Hagana all my feelings. But I could not go on living forever chasing the phantom of Hagana. If I was to stop investing in her, this was the crossroads. It is said that one is a full-fledged investor when they are capable of throwing away positions with losses. I was standing at the junction that would turn me from the child of 8 years ago into something else. Ooh. Oh yeah, no, this is when Hal becomes a man, I guess. My hands completely let go of Hagana's wrist. At this instant, Hagana's hands fell with a thump on her knees. I spoke. Please don't say that there wasn't a single good thing. I regret what happened 8 years ago, but the few days I spent with you were really enjoyable. At times, they were my only support. They were fun memories. I would get people embarrassed, dumbfounded, make them laugh, wasn't it? Wasn't it the same for you? Hagana shrugged slightly. Tears again rolled from her eyes. The lunar surface is a foolish place as usual. There are a lot of annoying things, and even more unfair things. But even so, I wouldn't want it for it to disappear. After what happened 8 years ago, and at the end of that path, I'm standing here. I've learned that one can never be free from their past, and I do believe I've been able to move forward because I haven't cut ties with my past. So even after losing everything, you shouldn't try to act as though it never happened either. She hasn't lost everything. Look at those cute shoes. I stopped speaking and extended my right hand. Back then, it was the hand that had rejected Hagana's own, the right hand that was responsible for everything. I always took him for a lefty. I really want to start over. I came this far thinking that it would be possible. Hagana. I looked straight into Hagana's eyes as I spoke. I still love you, even now. Hagana closed her eyes, which caused all of the pent-up tears to fall at once. And when she once more opened her eyes, I could hazard a guess at Hagana's feelings. It was a dream, and it might end. That was probably what she thought. Hagana. I called out her name and extended my right hand closer to her. Hagana cried like a child and... Hal. Trying to take my hand, she spoke. What should I do? At that moment, I squeezed Hagana's hand. Oh, you should pull in for the hug of a lifetime. We've been waiting 3 games for this, man. It's okay. I came here to find a way to set things right. I pulled Hagana towards me and hugged her with all my strength. Felt like Hagana's body was smaller than it was 8 years ago. This was probably because I had grown bigger. Oh, you bet you did. Sorry for the horrible thing I did back then. I'd like you to forgive me. Hagana didn't say a single word. But she wasn't the one to speak a lot in the first place. Besides, it took me 8 years to come here. So the long silence that followed felt like the briefest of moments. Hal, what is it? I wanted to see you. Is it over? We ending the game here? I'd be like half okay with that. I felt like I could finally put an end to my 8 years of suffering. Yay! He did it! All he had to be like was like, yo, I didn't fuck anyone. I'm a virgin. I'm gonna go get some more water and then we'll finish this game. I'll be right back. You know, I should save. I'm gonna hit that save button. Ooh! 2 whole pages. You know, it saves a lot more save slots when you don't freaking have to make 20-minute episodes the whole time. We're uploading this whole thing, damn it. Anyways, I'll be right back. I'm gonna get some water. I'll cut this out. We'll keep playing, keep rolling. Speaking of rolling, I've been using this, what's this called? This barbell? Dumbbell? What is this thing? Hand weight. I'm just rolling it around the floor with my feet. I should really use this to actually work out sometime, man. I'm all scrawn lately. All scrawn and no brawn. Anyways, we're back. Let's finish this damn game. Yo! Just got a couple arm pumps in there. Maybe it was thanks to the low gravity, but her laptop, the glasses, and the wine bottle were safe. Oh, nice. While picking up the bottle and the glasses, I asked Hagana, sitting on the bed. Did you want some? Yes, quote-unquote tap water. I swear he doesn't get on fire or anything. So, you drink wine? No, I don't. I swear I don't. Lisa also used to. I'm not scolding you. I mean, I am way old enough to be... We'll do a drunk stream some other time. But I won't drink anymore. As I finished wiping up the spilled booze and tried to stand, Hagana looked down at me. I'm not lonely anymore, after all. Just imagine Hagana getting the depressed single lady giant carton of cheap-ass wine. Hagana looked like she was sulking a bit. It hit me again how horrible I had been to Hagana. But at the same time, my heart was about to burst, full of indescribable affection for her. Hagana and I weren't children anymore. Yet, when I came to my senses, I was clumsily hugging Hagana, just like when she'd run away from the house. I couldn't think of anything else to do. Hagana. 8 years of pent-up emotion were threatening to overflow. It happened. I don't need to know about your 8 years of thing. I forgot I was still holding the uncapped bottle in my hand, and Hagana scolding me like in a cold voice. If you want to drink, then drink. And I'd like you to tell me about Barton. They were talking all night, weren't they? Those adorable kids. I opened the curtains, light stinging my eyes. and through the window, I could see the area where the tallest skyscrapers in Newton City were lined up. I'm a water plant. Hey, I prefer tap over, God, what was that shit called? Arrowhead? It's Arrowhead, right? Hate Arrowhead. Well, they're about the same, but I have good tap water where I live, man. I have the good stuff. I don't even run it through a filter or anything. It's just straight out of the pipe. It's like out in the spring. Anyways, compared to when I went to school, it was like you could taste the cancer. I'm not even kidding. Like there was a trash dump a couple miles down that was doing hazardous waste shit that you couldn't get away from. And yeah, I'm glad I left. The scenery made it clear, even enough, where exactly I was in the world. You're in a visual novel, Hal. You finally get it. What do you know, Hal? Agana responded with a question, sniffing her suit, where wine had spilled on it. I don't know anything. I said that, turning back to her face. At least put ice cubes in it. You know, I would put ice cubes in it, but then that allows me to put less water in it, so I'm at a crossroads here. I was completely caught off guard. Don't you remember the face I made when I came here? At my words, Hagana slightly averted her eyes, and, after a bit of thinking, she spoke. You looked like you had just died. I don't want to hear that from you. Yeah, you actually looked like a creepy horror game. Hagana glared at me for a moment, but then her gaze seemed to lose focus, as if she had seen something in the distance. 2 years ago, he came to me. That's what he said, when he was headhunting. He was a bit different from those people. Huh? He was overly familiar. I couldn't help but smile crookedly. I could easily imagine that. He honey-potted you too, man! But when he came to see me, he was clearly different from all those other people who would have me do worthless things. His attitude? Hagana shook her head. He had a dream. Hagana's jet black eyes, they're red, dude, looked at me. Even with her personality, how it seemed her weakness for dreams hadn't changed, even now. He would go on and on about his dreams, not in the same way you do, though. So, was confident about it, huh? Yes. I'd meant it as a self-deprecating joke, and I was a little wounded that she agreed. So, he had that big dick energy, didn't he? Yup, way bigger than yours. But, thinking back, I realized how much courage it took me to talk about my dreams back then. If I had to pinpoint the moment I fell in love with Agana, it was probably when she stayed by me without mocking my dream. I thought his plan was utterly preposterous, but I realized it was only the first requisite that made me think that way. The collapse of ABS? Yes. If it did actually happen, then I thought everything would go almost according to his plan. Also, there was a decisive flaw in the product Chris has created. I still don't understand how a man who is no good with math could tell. A flaw. It's a difference in how, oh my god, it's a difference in how you see the world. You could say that the gauze fooled Newton into bankruptcy. Now, what the fuck are we talking about here? Most random physical phenomena are distributed according to the normal distribution. The normal distribution is also called the Gaussian distribution after its discoverer. Gaussian distribution commonly used in mathematical models in the world of stocks. However, we learned through experience that not everything follows this normal distribution. Hagana mentioned this quote because Newton lost big time on stock transactions. Got him! I didn't understand what she said, but it seemed Hagana also had some grounds for envisioning the collapse of AVS. And Barton had seen through this with his first-rate flair and observation. There was one thing I wasn't sure of, what people would opt to prioritize. I can understand that, like an old story about a fire in a movie theater. As I explained to Hagana, she nodded and resumed her own explanation. But looking at the past predicaments, we figured out what even if people are not rational, they would prioritize profits other than their own. Recently, I felt that from quite close up. Even when knowing they would bring profits to one could call unjust to E.J. Rockbird, both stairs resolved to sell their company, and those people would probably be sung as the saviors of the lunar surface for a long time. So, what was Barton's dream? As I asked her, Agana looked embarrassed. He just wants to change his hair from purple to blue. It's very silly. Agana put her hands between her knees. She seemed to be having a hard time speaking. So, you still have something embarrassing you want to say after all this? He wants to marry her. He wants to change the legal age of consent. Damn it, Barton, quit trying to cockblock me. Even after all this fussing, yelling, and stupid misunderstandings and assumptions and apologies done 8 years too late, there was still something she was embarrassed about. I couldn't even imagine what it was. And then Agana spoke. What is it? To protect the lunar surface. Nani? I was taken aback, so was I. What the fuck? Agana was looking at me, embarrassed. Maybe it was to conceal her embarrassment, but even though it was rare for her, Agana continued her explanation. Emerald Industries is too big. It is in charge of way too much of the infrastructure of the lunar surface. If something bad would ever happen to it, there is nothing on the lunar surface that could replace it. That was when that man said that he could still live because he had the lunar surface as his playground, and that to protect the lunar surface, he could not leave Emerald Industries in its current state. It sounded rather cheesy, but Barton was totally capable of spouting lines like that. He was a man who had several names and family registries, and he could freely manipulate huge amounts of money. For possible for him to have an insatiable desire even now, what could it be besides success for the sake of success? There was no difference between his type and obsessive gamblers, people who could only feel joy in the process of obtaining something rather than what they have obtained. But that was exactly why I felt I could somehow understand part of the plight of his kind. It was good all along, maybe, kinda, not really, I don't know. The world of finance, starting with the stock market, allowed one to earn so much money that one ended up thinking they could realize any dream. But that was all there was to it. In the end, with the sum I paid for Agana, I understood that it could only allow you to earn money. It seemed like the market held the answer to destiny, but it would never, ever give it to you. Even knowing this, though, one would want a place that you could believe held a shred of a dream. Barton's words were probably the bare truth, no lies. So when Barton bought out Emerald Industries, he planned on splitting it up? That's what he said. That once it was split into several divisions, he was planning on raising rival companies. God damn it. Too many rivals. It sounded completely preposterous, yet it made sense. It was obvious, looking at the fuss caused by the medical report. There were lifeboats, but not enough for everybody to get on board. And if there was demand, it stands to reason that there must be supply. So, if we talk to Barton about the lunar surface being on the brink of collapse, there is a chance he might help us, right? I muttered, thinking about how to bring this to him. 8 years ago, I went to talk to Barton about the childish deal I had come up with in my innocent mind, and recently, Lisa talked to me about a similar deal, and I refused her. I probably wouldn't agree to it even if it was an extension of that thinking. I had to adjust this deal so that Barton would feel that he had something to gain by listening to our story. There's one thing, though. What? Agana scrunched her face, seemingly knowing what I was going to tell her. You were thinking that it would be okay if your plan failed, right? Agana plotted to make the lunar surface collapse, but failing in this endeavor would conversely mean success for Barton's plan to let the lunar surface survive. Agana scowled and turned the other way. It must have been hard to hold it in, so hard it could have torn her in half, holding these contradictory emotions in her heart, yet Agana took in Barton's project. Agana was by no means a cold-hearted person. It was soon to raise shit, though. She probably felt emotions so strongly she couldn't handle them properly. I'm really sorry. For what? For drinking in the middle of this cute scene. For years ago, when I was at my most known, I should have called out to you. Eleanor seemed to be convinced I would do just that. But then, the end of the movie about Avalon's defeat would have been really different. Hagana glared at me. We'd have to have this whole side story and deleted scenes, and why didn't you? I could only scratch my head in embarrassment. Oops, and I could only accidentally move the mic. I was too busy. Hagana looked at me with scorn, then she heaved a small sigh. You haven't changed at all in 8 years. I think I'm different now. I had a cane at one point. It was pretty classy. If I was the same as I was back then, I probably wouldn't be able to talk with you now. What do you mean? I used to be a fucking moon ninja when I was a kid, dude. I could jump off walls and stuff. Because I think I would have been more focused on pressing you for the details of the plan than telling you how I feel. Are you stupid? If I were stupid, I wouldn't have been able to calm down and talk to you. Still, my priority had been the lunar surface for the first half of this whole mess. It must have been the source of my frustration. Hagana looked at me before averting her gaze. I think you're an idiot. Your face in profile was so cute, I couldn't help but laugh. It seems like a lie that the lunar surface is in trouble. It's not a lie. Hagana answered, but upright as she was, she seemed to remember at once what she had done. She looked at me with uneasy eyes. I know. That's why you're going to tell me that last bit that you're having so much trouble saying. I took a deep breath before saying this. I want you to tell me all the details of the positions you're hogging. For a moment, it looked like Hagana might cry, but she took a deep breath and gave me the key to Pandora's box. As I pressed Alt by accident again. I have new switches, by the way. Cherry Reds, they feel so great. After listening to all of what Hagana had to say, I realized how far we had come. And I realized I had a text that I had to answer. Ooh, pictures. The uproar surrounding the destiny of people living in the Outer District 8 years ago involved less than 1 million mules. Oh, hey, bus tickets. Yes. The number that came out of Hagana's mouth went far beyond thousands of times that. How much was it? Zitka was seated at the desk in his office and couldn't even swallow. He was so tense. Yeah, I could have made a dirty joke about that, but let's finish this. We are predicting losses totaling 8 trillion mules, and this is only what we can calculate at this point, with what we have. So, does this mean that the losses have a chance of getting even bigger? With only ABS and CDO, and the protection, in theory, there is an upper limit to the losses. If everything collapsed, the securities would turn to paper scraps, and you'd end up having to make insurance payments worth as much as the securities they put in, or to put an end to it. Never mind, false alarm. The way you say this makes me want to go, oh, is that all? But even God himself would be scared of that kind of money. Wallace, who had come along with Sadia, said those words at an even tone. At this point, he'd probably reached a stage where he felt genuine admiration. Marco had his mouth agape, dumbfounded, and Kazunika was massaging the inner corners of his eyes. So, how do all these ruthless monsters of the economy create losses for going beyond even that? Shouldn't we be applying for the Guinness Book at this point? Their plan had yet another stage, another trap. I spoke, trying to not remember the shock I felt when I heard Hagana talk about it in a hotel. Or at the hotel. In a hotel. If someone other than Hagana's had said it, I think my spirits would have been broken. My spirit did not break, because Hagana herself was on the verge of having hers break, as she told me. They were doing a large-scale option transactions involving currency. Currency? Options? Kazuka asked back, scrunching his face, and even Sadia and Marco didn't seem to fully measure to the true meaning of his word. Only Wallace looked at me when I said this utter disbelief on his face. I said this with utter disbelief. An option is used to bet on whether or not the price will go above a certain value at a certain point in the future. For instance, you predict how much the value of the mule will rise against the dollar in 3 months from now, and you turn up either a profit or a loss. I could sort of hazard a guess, so what of it? Until the medical report came out, the lunar surface's economy was going swimmingly. In other words, this was a situation in which the currency of the lunar surface was getting stronger and stronger compared to the currencies of any country on Earth. Excuse me. Yeah, I understand that. Thanks to that, the price of important products would drop, and it would become easier for people to live, though, in turn, this meant that the real estate price rose without limits. This means that back then, you had an incentive to bet on the fact that the moon would get stronger. But conversely, this also means that if you could predict a collapse in the future, then you could easily take advantage of this flaw. Sorry, my brain isn't working. What does that mean? I took a deep breath before speaking. I took a deep sip before speaking. This is getting hot. In a situation where the mool's value will keep on rising in the future, an option that would grant profit when the mool drops has no value. Yeah, well, I suppose, but there are some people who think that the mool will lose value. You can sell these options to such people. The point is, they had been selling insurance in preparation for the moment the mool dropped. Again, with the insurance. Yes, in a situation where the mool keeps rising, since it is just like no refund insurance, Emerald Industries kept on making a big profit the more they sold this insurance. But conversely, the problem is the instant you trip the trigger that would activate the effects of these options, the mool drops. This causes a huge explosion, Mr. President. Well, that's to be expected, since they had been selling insurance, right? I mean, how? Kazinka was trying to stave off his headache as he attempted to follow this conversation. As though he was treading through the dark with poor visibility, I addressed him coldly. Mr. President, what was our last resort option for when everything would go to hell? That was to activate the rotary. Ah! Yes. If we activated the rotary press to print tons of mool banknotes, the value of the mool would have dropped. But then, if we print mool banknotes to save Emerald Industries and such, then this means that the very companies we are trying to save will suffer even bigger losses. Is that it? What in the hell? How is this even possible? And now we will have to talk about the moment that this is the worst killjoy for me. That is the worst killjoy for me. That is, how to avoid this. All said this in a soft tone. Indeed, the worst killjoy during short selling is the moment the government intervenes. Of course, if Emerald Industries gets caught in a crisis, then it is foreseeable that the government will step in. But we want to avoid this somehow. This trap made of huge option transactions probably serves one or two purposes in this whole scheme. Either to prevent the government from printing banknotes, or in practice to nullify any such interventions. You know, this is a clever scheme they've put together. But yeah, I'm really catching any of it. Though it is highly probable that the other party in this option transaction is someone who is taking a part in the Emerald Industries buyout project. I also share the same view on that. After all, the option trap working too well and causing an overkill because of the huge losses would be a problem for them too. They probably plan on canceling the transaction if things go too far and to keep the losses to a manageable level. Truly an impressive display of ability. Was it really a man who planned that? Thoroughness on par with the devil. Fuck, reading! Ah, shit! But then, what do we do? What other option do we have? I don't know yet what we can do, but I know what we have to do. I moistened my lips before talking. He just takes a cup of water and he's like... Sorry you had to hear that. We just have to stop this whole uproar, while avoiding Herald Bros and Emerald Industries falling into bank run, and while avoiding the depreciation of the moon. Isn't that like impossible at this point? Ha 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 ha, you shitty boy. Kazinka laughed and put a hand on his face, and his shoulders shaking as though he couldn't take any more. This is just like the Gordian knot, isn't it? Wallace could be heard uttering this short sentence. Are you going to look for the legendary sword that can cut it in two? It is pretty close, man. And Marco's words, Gazunica barked. We're almost there. Where are you going to find such a thing? It seemed like Gazunica had reached his limit. Hell, 10 minutes after you left, we got a call from Mirror Wrench. They said that they were aware of how rotten to the core they were. They even renounced trying to find financing and were rushing to find someone to sell themselves to. Drink. Sell themselves to drink? Okay. Must have thought they'd end up bought at the steel, like Bull Stairs. They tried to hold out too hard, so they wanted us to put in a good word for them. And now, somehow, my government's been reliable. I'm so proud. Do you even have candidates to buy? It would seem that every investor in the field is in a state of panic and hiding their cash in their drawers, right? So, the only place who would have any money are the commercial banks who stand guard on the savings of their virtuous customers, right? In terms of scale, this means the Bank of the Moon would be a good match, but I have no clue as to how much they could sell themselves for. Sound choice. At this comment from Gazunica, he heaved a huge sigh and spoke in a broken voice, about to cry. The situation must have reached a point where nothing more can be done. Everything we do is in haste. I want to turn on the rotary press and make it run. This will put an end to this whole thing. Literally put everything on a course toward the end. Sadia, since we don't legally need to go through Parliament, we can do it whenever we want, right? Yes, the head director has disappeared, and only 3 of the remaining 4 directors are present, so by using the recommendation quota as president to force someone into the position, you could clear the legal requirement of having the approval of more than half the attending directors. Right on. We just need to plug it into the wall and make it work right away. That's a plug and play for you. If you ask me, it would be more like plug and pray. Oh, Wallace, that's cute. Nice. Nice. But that's the only way out left. Gazunica cried. The situation was desperate. Do this and that will collapse. Do the other thing and that other thing will break. It was a stray bull lost in a china shop. No matter what you did and how you did it, you cannot avoid problems. But this is really the last resort. If we go and use it, nothing will be the same anymore. Don't you think that everything comes with a price? If the end result, the collapse of the lunar surface, doesn't change, we also have the option of praying without plugging it in. Oh ho! You would leave things to the whims of the market? How befitting of the liberalism of the lunar surface. This is what you call being consistent. That's what you call burping in the middle of recording. Wallace seemed ironic as he chuckled, but of course, I was also saying this as a joke. That would just be inept dogmatism. It has been made clear by now that these guys won't be able to fix this mess on their own. Not doing anything is not an option. Which is why we have no other option but to think. I schooled myself into speaking in a collected tone. Think until the very last moment. You said something like that in that movie, right? I glared at Wallace, who was laughing, and frowned in obvious disgust. Disgust. Would Wallace believe me if I told him that the current situation was, for the most part, caused by the same movie? Yes! You have to tell everyone. It's the best shitty plot twist ever. But I do think that the most important thing in investment is knowing when to pull away. Indeed, I think we need to define a line beyond which we will give up. Even if printing banknotes means facing new problems, we'll be able to avoid the present crisis, which is very important since, at the very least, it will help us buy time for people to flee the lunar surface. Yeah, there's that problem too. And someone run calculations for me. Even with the orbital elevator at full activity, it would take around 1 month to send everyone on the lunar surface back to Earth. Plus, this does not account for the capacity of the gravity tracing facility or training facility. We don't have tabs on everyone who was both born on the moon and never been in a high gravity environment, but it certainly can't accept all of them at once. Can definitely drink at once. What the heck is going on here? Stay hydrated. If anything, we must prevent Emerald Industries from collapsing out of the blue and from falling in some way. They're in charge of both the circulation and atmosphere and the temperature of the dome. This would cause the biggest space accident in history. Approaching things from this point of view, I pondered the idea that this place, the lunar surface, went on existing because everyone assured things would turn out fine. So, we draw the line before surrendering. At Kazunika's question, naturally, all gazes turned themselves towards Wallace. In standard stock trading, the highest loss one can suffer happens at the moment when the stocks they brought turn to scrap paper. But in short selling, since it is the rise in stock price that becomes a loss, theoretically, losses can be infinite. Consequently, with short selling, even more so than for regular trading, being able to determine the moment to back out becomes important. Dr. Wallace, master of short selling and king of pessimism, looked displeased as he spoke. What are you people thinking, pushing such heavy responsibilities on a dying old man? Even if it failed, no one would be able to blame a dead man, would they? So it's true, all lawyers are scoundrels. Teehee. I swear, I regret not staying quietly in my sickbed. For once, I should have listened to Maria. After uttering those words as if spitting them, Wallace knocked his cane on the ground. Once Harold Bro's stock price falls under 10 bulls, we had better consider it the start of the countdown to hell. I did a rough calculation of the value of their assets, but even deducting their hidden losses, if it falls under 10 bulls, then it will become too cheap for it to be too reasonable. Reaching that price range means that the market does not trust Harold Bro's accounting books or their future. At that, all they'll be able to do is wait for death. What about Emerald Industries? As Gazunica asked, groaning, Wallace gave him a short glance, then looked at me. Obviously, this is under the assumption that nothing happens on that side. Can't imagine what could happen in the meantime, but we have to find a way to stop this uproar. If Emerald Industries wavers, then we won't have a moment to lose by hesitating. We'll have to plug in rotary press and pray. Several hundred of thousands of people, including us, will be abandoned in space. Couldn't the government take over their operations? Well, looking at the facts, that would mean nationalization. We would need to go through Parliament. Besides, can we even do that in the first place? Nationalization. I don't think that word can be found in any dictionary sold on the lunar surface. Also, sorry. Indeed, even if I have no idea how the chaos that would ensure would be. In that case, our best option would be succeeding in persuading a certain man who plots like the devil. Yeah, that's right, Hal. Would you be up to the task? Though Gazunica phrased this in the form of a question, it obviously wasn't one. I uttered the following words. Cut to Hal looking sad. He and I are at one win and one loss. My mouth convulsed into what looked like a smile, and it probably wasn't due to fatigue. Is there anything we can do? Please pray. I had to do what I could do, and I had no other choice. Damn it, we're still not at the last note. I left the General Government Building and headed for Royal Central Hotel. Gano is waiting for me outside room 502. Did you lock yourself out? The door had an auto lock, so I didn't have to think long before I spoke. Yes. After a long silence, Hagana answered, "What the heck is that cute sprite though? Holy shit! Been waiting 8 years for that." Chuckling, I used my card key to open the door. As I did though, I noticed a key sticking out of Hagana's pocket. You liar! You were waiting for me. She probably couldn't wait anymore, and was waiting outside. I was feeling absolutely gleeful at how adorable Hagana was being, but that giddiness disappeared all at once. Why? Because, like, Barton's just naked sitting on the couch in that room? Like, hey, dude, this place has great spas. How was it? Never mind, we were all alone. We can do stuff. Hagana wasn't much for asking questions 8 years ago, yet she asked me this. More than likely, she was more worried about the situation than that she was looking forward to seeing me. She was clearly regretting what she had done. In the world of investment, it happens sometimes that your plans backfired, and you ended up in a horrible predicament. However, in Hagana's case, she kept piling risk on top of Emerald Industries with full knowledge with what she was doing. Trying to corner her and persuade her that Barton had tempted her into it didn't have much effect. I wished from the bottom of my heart I could resolve this crisis, if only because I was sure that I could help remove even a little of that regret from Hagana's heart. I wanted to do it, so one day we could smile at each other. The situation was actually worse. Mirror wrench? Hagana asked in a small voice. I glanced back at her, surprised. It seems the program I gave you works just fine. Hagana was poking a few keys on her laptop as she said this, the one she'd been playing solitaire on. This is accurate. Harold Rose will be next to catch fire. Hagana said this as she read the screen, in a tone that made it sound like she was reading a service information from the orbital elevator. The program Hagana had created could, based on prices of ABS, CDO, and all this other crap, and the protection, could put into numbers how much a financial institution was actively taking risk, and from there, it could simulate how much of the real estate market had to what? Rot before the institution itself would rot. She was expressing the credit uncertainty that could lead to a bank run, using the same kind of algorithm used to simulate the propagation of an epidemic or a wildfire. That's all one phrase, jeez. A way of thinking like the power law, which has a different basis from the normal distribution Gaussian distribution. In simple terms, the human height tends to aggregate towards the mean, and there is always a limit to no matter how tall one may be. However, the incomes of wealthy people don't aggregate towards the mean. There are no theories on the limits of how much they could earn. The income of wealthy people is an example that follows the power law. Oh, okay, that makes sense. Maybe the rich get richer, basically. I kept staring at the display of the grid network of the finance world, and the simulation display of the bank runs caused by this credit uncertainty. But all it looked like to me was a map of the future created by the devil to signal the apocalypse. Hagana had used it when piling risk up on Emerald Industries, and she had given the same thing to Wallace for reference. I couldn't figure for the life of me how it was possible to create such a thing, but Hagana had explained to me that if you had a forecast 2 years in advance of what would happen, it wasn't that difficult. Basically, stock shit. Especially the data, since the official data had, at the very best, the total amount of money issued in ABS and CDO securities. Yet Hagana and Barton were referencing information that should be impossible to find, no matter where you searched. But it seemed Barton had, for this single purpose, created a company that would gather information. It would do so by using direct manpower to call financial institutions worldwide on the phone, obtain their financial positions and their pricings, and then aggregate all that information. Almost all the service companies in the world that provided market information were doing that sort of low-level work already. Said financial institutions probably didn't sense that anything was off. Just another day in Boring Town. That sort of obstinacy words had nearly made me lose my footing, but this was me talking. A guy who once actually obeyed his paranoia and went to the far side of the lunar surface to look for non-existent power plants. You gotta get off your high horse in that, man. You got lucky. Barton had me beat in scale and experience, but there was nothing I could do about that. Also, that was just an excuse to take Eleanor out on a date. No, but it wasn't a big gap. That the outcome was already decided. The direction I was looking in wouldn't change. I shifted my gaze from Hagana to the screen before speaking. In theory, how long should Harold Rose hold out? Given the current situation, 1 month. What is that? 1 whole month? You're fine, guys. Go on vacation, take a break, have a martini. But this estimate is only in the case where the fall of the real estate market is at a set value. If the market conditions worsen, the credit uncertainty will show non-linear movement. So you're saying if the fall accelerates radically, the collapse will occur sooner, like that program showing the grid collapse? Yes, but predicting when a sudden change will occur is extremely hard. And once the collapse begins, it will all be over in an instant. It's like applying force to a twig. For a while, it will take on that force and bend. It will take on that force and bend, but past a certain point, it will break. Ghana gave a small nod, her eyes still on the screen. I also don't know how reliable this program will be. In the end, it's just a simulation. This was probably not caution so much as Ghana hoping that was the case. It was right on the mark for Mirror Wrench. This information hasn't gone out to the market yet. By the way, how did it go for both stairs? Ghana spoke as if confessing a sin. It was right on the mark. She looked like she had just died and was probably playing solitaire to kill time because she was convinced of what would happen in the future. In other words, she was forecasting that if things kept on going the way they did, Emerald Industries would collapse and the lunar surface would go under. But humans don't behave like equations. Ghana sounded like she was trying to convince herself more than anything. Yes, after all, this program can't account for the existence of a person like me. I can't really deny that these were just pretty words to ease our minds, but we had no choice but to believe that. Even Isaac Newton, who could calculate the movements of the stars, but could not predict the madness of men, ended up facing tremendous losses in the stock trading. But what will we do? Well, I'll have to think. Think up of a way for everyone to avoid bankruptcy, to avoid the depreciation of the mool, and to calm down this crisis. And we'll have to persuade Barton. Legally speaking, stopping the payment of non-actualized protection from Emerald Industries didn't require us convincing Barton of anything. But Emerald Industries was carrying more losses than Barton had anticipated. If we let Barton proceed as he was, it was extremely likely that a situation he did not foresee would occur. The tens of billions of mools that had likely been transferred to one of Barton's accounts would have been useful in preventing this, or rather, without that money, we would be forced to the last resort, printing banknotes. Is it possible? We have no choice. I couldn't prevent a bitter laugh from escaping my mouth as I answered. But at this point, we have absolutely nothing to persuade him. Let's just pick up some blue guy at Hot Topic. I'm sure he'll be fine. Even if Barton's objective was something that would prevent the collapse of the lunar surface, I don't see him as a type that would readily agree if we told him, hey, the lunar surface might outright collapse, so please stop. That man was just like an animal. Animal. Indeed. My laugh sounded quite dry. Persuading him will probably be impossible. The one and only thing Barton would accept is a business deal. A deal? Don't you dare say anything about selling yourself again. At my words, Agana jerked and cowered. But this was Agana with 8 more years of experience. She didn't hold her tongue. If I could be sold for 30 billion moles, I'd say that's worth considering. Her jet black eyes shone with a hint of meanness as she looked at me. I paid more than that just for a chance to reach my hand out towards Agana. If my hand happened to touch her cheek, that was because deep down, I wanted what every other investor wanted, a return on investment. But you didn't open your heart for that sum, did you? I did consider it. I did also skip a text box. What, really? Yep. I was surprised. I was so sure I was being completely ignored. That's not true. Donna looked at me with a slight, petulant look on her eyes. But I could not believe it. I could also not believe that I forgot to put the recording in progress little slide tab on my desk. doing a thing. Hashtag moving back home sucks. You did in the end, though. That alone makes me feel blessed. Really? Even though she believed things rather hastily, Hagana was still distrustful. But, as far as I was concerned, that's the cutest thing about Hagana. Really. I gazed back into Hagana's eyes. Just like cats do in these circumstances, Hagana narrowed her eyes and averted her gaze. Nearly unconsciously, I was drawing Hagana's face closer to mine with the hand I had on her cheek. This is no time to get on with it, man. Well, I guess it is time. It's as good as time as any. Let's just get on with it. Hagana noticed it and stiffened. Oh, wait. But she didn't resist, of course. I recalled my memories of 8 years ago, when we were together on the bed in the dead of night. They say that when people are confronted with a critical situation, sexual desire increases because we're instinctively geared to want to procreate. Though, if I was feeling any instinct right now, it was to flee from that tension that I was currently faced with. You're the one who pulled in, dude. I'm just saying. Hey, man. Get some almost dead sex out of the way, and then it'll all be fine. Then you can go talk to Barton with confidence, with that big dick energy you have deep inside. I was so close. I could actually count Hagana's eyelashes. Then count them. That close up, even with my eyes closed, I couldn't get it wrong. It was at that instant. The ding-dong, the chime rang. Ha! Got him! It was either Marco, whom I had told to come here after going to the office, or maybe Lisa, or both. In any case, Hagana and I were both caught off guard, and we looked towards the door at the same time. I was annoyed by the rude visitor, but I noticed I was also somewhat relieved. As I stood up reflecting on my cowardice, something soft touched my cheek. Gotcha! I looked at Hagana. She was facing away, her expression blank. Boy, you just got cheek kissed, man. You did it. We'd taken so long in addressing the chime that it rang once more. Got him. That's, you know what, cute enough. Cute enough, I'll take it. Oh shit, it's Lisa. Hey, it's been forever. Hagana looked like she was sulking and in a bad mood when she faced Lisa, but she was probably just uncomfortable. But Lisa was all too happy to be reunited with Hagana. Marco, who had just happened to be with her at the front of the hotel, walked up to me and said, "Hey, it was both of us, like you guessed. She's not at all the same type as Eleanor. Or as Chris. She just looks the part of a really sharp quant. But once you know that she's actually emotional, she's quite cute." As I said this with a completely straight face, I realized with consternation that Barton had appraised her in the same way. So, this whole Emerald Industries mess is her doing. Yeah, and one of the persons behind it was Barton, Keenan Goldsmith. When I told Marco this, he made a face. I wouldn't expect of him. Even if he dropped all of his assets by the wayside, then, he said. If there are monsters like him in such a small world, you should just stop this. But do you have anything lined up, Hal? I'm thinking. And that's not the only thing. Calming down the market. Go about doing that. We don't have the option to print money, right? Or are you thinking about Barton to take the currency options? I have some expectations for that. If that is the case, then if we can persuade him, the option to print money will be open to itself to us. But we will get hurt big time if our positive predictions end up being wrong. After that, I used the office phone to talk a bit with Mr. Wallace. He said one route was to ignore the currency options, just go ahead with printing money. Betting on printing enough mools to overcome the loss of options due to the depreciation of the mool, huh? Yeah. He said that would be what the government should do if it was really committed to a relief plan. A rough idea like that is pretty much what I'd expect of an Earthborn. It's refreshing to hear, but then the depreciation of the mool would cause inflation. Inflation is the demon of finance. That is incredibly hard to exercise. There is a reason for even the central banks of Earth, with all their history, to have the stability of cost of living as one of their main goals. Besides, cost of living stable? Are you fucking kidding me? Besides, people who have assets in Mool banknotes will end up penniless. That includes us, Barton, or any of the companies operating on the lunar surface. If the lunar surface does close shop, or if the lunar surface closes shop, that's also a possibility. As I press Alt again. Marco made a face like a kid, peering at the Trompe-l'oeil words. French words at that. God. Painting! And cast his eyes down. Okay, lunch is ready. Lisa said this as she left the large kitchen next to the dining area. Each of the 3 bedrooms had toilets and showers, with a separate main bath in addition. There was even a big kitchen. Just what were the rich people who stayed here planning on doing? Drugs. All of the moon drugs. Or maybe they just thought they'd throw in whatever they could to make the apartment worth the price. But it had actually served its purpose, so I didn't really mind all that much. Oh my god, we can eat again. Family. It's unsettling to be eating in such a clean apartment, right? Are you still staying at that church? Hagana asked. Lisa gave an embarrassed smile. No, I moved elsewhere. Still, it's probably just as dirty. To think I could give you enough money to move out. It's fun to clean up something that's worn out. Lisa smiled, adding this. Just like the bonds between people. Oh shit! The church is people! As she closed one eye in a wink, Hagana and I stole a glance at each other. So, Marco tells me things are hectic as usual. How much did you tell her? The superficial stuff. How much am I not examining my audio to make sure it's so underwhelmingly bad? Oh well, that's what happens when you do it live, boys. Don't blame Marco, I was just curious. I'm not blaming him. It's just that you might inadvertently talk when trying to appease someone's worries. This is so big, it could spark something really nasty. I know. On the news, they gave an example of bank runs on Earth. It's really hard to do the right thing for everyone, and not for yourself. Just gonna give it a little lift. Give my auxiliary audio a little lift since I'm talking a little lighter now. In times, these people are easily swayed by rumors. The history of religion has a lot of similar stories. And I pressed space on the wrong thing, but for now, please fill your stomachs. I doubt I'll be much of use for cleanup this time. Come to think of it, 8 years ago, Lisa cleaned up the church for us. So, it's been 8 years already. I reflected on this as I ate Lisa's homemade lunch and said, this time, I'll do right for sure. Lisa looked at me with a smile and nodded. Hope you stream, post more in the future. Sorry I didn't read that earlier. See you around. You know what? I'll think about it. I'm definitely gonna post this video as its own thing, so anyone could just watch it again. But, you know, if I ever think about streaming again, this is a valid option because it's already connected to a YouTube channel with a bunch of crap on it anyway, so, you know. There you go! Yeah, you'll see this and the rest of this in the bit. After lunch, Lisa cleaned up and quickly returned to the church. She went on her way, saying she was satisfied just seeing that Hagana looked well. Besides, Lisa said that she had sold the orbital elevator ticket to someone for a regular price, saying, if you're going to save the lunar surface, then I don't need it, do I? I couldn't tell if she was serious or if she was just trying to cheer us up. But it was very like her, I thought. I'm heading back to the government building. It seems Mr. Gazinica is in need of extra hands. Stroke me now! Is Sadia also there? I think so. If there are movements, I'll notify you. Got it. Though I guess if I can't give you good news before you contact me, that probably means we're in trouble. I'm expecting good news. Saying this, Marco left the room. Only Hagana and I remained. I had the impression that maybe, just maybe, he was reading the mood. Ooh! I chose not to hole myself up in the government building because it would be difficult to bring her there. Wallace and the others would probably not sweat the small stuff, but if other people found out about Hagana, this would have an impact on morale. Besides, separating myself from Hagana wouldn't be very smart. Not because I believed I couldn't leave Hagana alone by herself, but because she was clinging to her tablet. If that program was predicting the collapse of investment banks, then conversely, it also held the possibility of reverse engineering what we could do to avoid that collapse. And very abrupt music change. Still, it's crazy that such a small computer could actually do that. You can't do calculations with just this. Huh? I'm just giving instructions from here. I'm renting a large-scale calculation system hosted somewhere else, and receiving the results here. They're just displaying it. Wait, is that the reason you were penniless even though you were working at Emerald Industries? Yes, I have enough calculations surfaced to simulate the variations of Earth's weather. I'm really glad you haven't fallen in love with Barton. Hey, take that back, man. That would be the worst. Hagana squinted as she looked at me. I shook my head before plopping myself in a chair. We have to find a way to persuade Barton. For me, this was even harder than predicting the variations of Earth's weather. I mean, no shit it is. That was because I didn't even know what angle to approach him. Money would be outright removed from the options. He would never agree to the amount of money we could prepare via our own means, and if we brought out the rotary presses and an overwhelming amount of money, then the losses from currency options would nearly kill Emerald. Industries called it, boys! Sob stories wouldn't work on him, so trying to persuade him by saying the lunar surface was at risk of collapse would not work either. After all, Barton had acted after considering this possibility. He wasn't the type to take orders or instructions from anyone, he just pushed through with his own whims. I realized in a blank amazement that this was why Chris admired him so much. He was so cutthroat, it was laughable. I wrote a few possibilities down on my tablet, erased them with a gesture, and then started over. After a bit, I noticed that the room had grown dim. Who turned out the lights? I closed my text editor and opened up the stock market. Emerald Bro's price had dropped by 12% since yesterday, and was at 32 mools. Since all the financial institutions are prey to harsh drops, 12% was very steep, but the price did not stand out that much. Tomorrow's earnings announcements would probably hold for a few days. However, as Wallace said, someone would certainly expose the deception. Anyone could see it. It was obviously wrong. And then it fell on us to find a miraculous way to turn the state of the market upside down within a few days. My sense of reason was tugging at me, asking if such a thing was really possible. Of course not. But with Eleanor at my side, I'd been able to force even Avalon to collapse 4 years ago, before I met Eleanor. If someone had asked me if I saw myself standing where I am now, I would certainly have answered, of course not. And if someone had asked me if it was possible to destroy the lunar surface purely via economic means, I would have answered, absolutely not. And yet, here we are, boys. But Hagana was actually about to succeed in that very endeavor. A thinker from a long time ago said that people tended to think the biggest thing they had borne witness to was the biggest thing that could exist in this world. And reality always surpassed imagination. Clinging to that belief, I had no choice but to keep on thinking. To find a way out of this desperate situation. Where are you going? As I stood up, Hagana spoke. I'm going to turn on the light. At those words, it seemed Hagana finally noticed that the room had become quite dark. Keep it dark, dude. It's go time. With a chuckle, I walked up to the wall and had a realization. The lunar surface's dome was displaying an evening sky, with the city tinted red. The closer you got to the extremity of the dome, the more purple would turn to indigo, and a strange combination of colors that had held a sort of sadness, yet also gave a sense of warmth. Within this mixture of colors, the skyscrapers of the lunar surface were starting to light up. Something different from both the night and daytime scenery, a truly unique sight, was emerging. I was bewitched by this view of the lunar surface. Hagana came to my side. Oh boy! It's the title thing. Oh. That's cute. Can we just end it here? Oh, that's such adorable. That's so... They're not gonna hold hands. What are you looking at? The scenery of the city. This was my birthplace. The words that slipped from my mouth surpassed even me. After dealing with the medical report, I had been forced to think about what the lunar surface was. I'd never thought about it before, but apparently I cared for this place a great deal, more than just as a place where I was born and raised. Or it might just have been that my mind was reaching the understanding that the situation was completely hopeless, and that it might very well be the last time I looked at it. It's beautiful. Yeah, it is. Hagana and I exchanged some brief words. Say, I asked Hagana, what is it? Let's say a miracle occurs and this whole mess gets sorted out. Don't look at me like that. Right now, things are pretty bleak. Or are you saying that you're about to make a breakthrough? As I asked in a deliberately flippant tone, Hagana hung her head in shame. I quickly corrected myself. Okay, not a miracle. Let's say our efforts resolve this whole mess. Then what? Well then, where would you... No. I mean, in which place would you choose to live your life? Hagana gazed at me, looking at me as though she hadn't understood the question. What do you mean? Well, I mean, you also have a birthplace, right? It seemed it was a place where you looked up at the sky, you could see a scene so beautiful you might think God had a hand in creating it. Nothing else about it seemed particularly enjoyable. But I thought to myself that, for each of us, our birthplace was irreplaceable. If the lunar surface collapsed like this, even if people couldn't live there anymore, we had to live on. As I thought about where I might live, nothing in particular sprang to mind, so I thought living in Hagana's birthplace might not be so bad. I like the lunar surface better, Hagana said softly. Really? Hagana nodded. I have memories here, after all. And clumsily she took my hand in hers. Dude. That's why I wanted to erase it all. I once again realized what a horrible thing I'd done to Hagana. But for once Hagana didn't stop speaking and pressed on. One can always see the lunar surface from Earth. It's like you said, Hal. What did I say? That one couldn't run away from their past. The lunar surface is a satellite of Earth, after all. No matter where you go, you'll see it. Indeed. Even if the lunar surface lacked in history, it was about to reach 25 years. 25 years of moon shit! A lot had happened. No matter how much the city appearance changed, there were places that hadn't changed. Like me burping all the time. And those memories would never ever go away. But I guess I'd only want a few select people to remain on the lunar surface. As I muttered this, I felt Hagana's hand still holding mine shudder a bit. I'm not blaming you. I'm talking about the people who fled the lunar surface right after the medical report came out. I sighed and added. To be honest, I felt sad and frustrated. I thought deep down that this place was far more attractive than any place on Earth. I think so too. Chris said the same thing. Chris had said with some cheekiness, where else do you think it's possible to lead to that successful of a career? That was precisely the shape of one of the dreams that had tied people to the lunar surface, despite their better judgment. And it's gotten me thinking a bit. About what? About people who love the lunar surface gathering together and bringing money to the table to stave off this crisis. Something like that. I was thinking that if companies and funds from all over the lunar surface, that is, all the people who have had it good here, all gave some of their money, that could solve the problem. If they really love the lunar surface, then that kind of thing should be alright, don't you think? Besides, bank runs occur because people try to protect only their own fortune. Of course, I was aware that it was all just an idyllic idea. Well, it's only a stupid idea. And as I said that with a laugh, Agana suddenly said out of the blue, "It's not stupid." Huh? Hal, don't you know? Agana looked at me quizzically. I gazed back at Agana, dumbfounded. The one who used to be a project girl, full of openings, who would take everything at face value, said this. That's what you call taxes. But I also know it happened, just as I was about to talk back. No, that's taxes. Agana looked frustrated, twisting her face as if she was in pain. Well, she never was one to speak much. She couldn't express her thoughts eloquently. When I was reading up on currency options, I learned a lot about exchange and about currency. It said that when you don't have assets to back up its value, like solid gold, then its value is the ability to collect taxes. This would be equivalent to the proceeds of a company, where the company is the government. In a way, currency was like a stock certificate of the government, and the more its balance was in the black, the more value it held. And in the current state of the world, where one was free to live where they pleased, one reason people lived on the lunar surface was because the taxes were cheap. In other words, this was the reason as to why the proposal of printing banknotes would be a dual-edged sword that could destroy the lunar surface. I never heard dual-edged, it was double-edged. But, was it really the case? Was it really the biggest reason for living on the lunar surface? What if this was not the case? Weren't we overlooking something very important? Just give them more taxes, bitch. No. But wait, in that case, then maybe. I swear, if taxes are the answer, then we're all doomed. I felt like something was about to click within my head. It even felt like I was about to reach some perfect, shining thing I'd been able to see for 8 years but never touch until now. What was it? That big dick energy. What was this feeling? As I was searching frantically for what it was, my tablet rang. 'Cause tablets ring now? What? Did Lisa call me because she had forgotten something? You get such a boring ringtone too, though. Such were my thoughts for 1 second, but I realized this was merely futile wishful thinking on my part. The caller was of all people, the king of pessimism, Wallace. Hello? Moshi Moshi? Well, I bet you're not expecting this call to be good news. I wish. What? Are you going to tell me you're calling from heaven or something? Aha! I should be lucky. Or, I should be so lucky. Can you see the news on your tablet? Has there been some movement on the market? Has there been some movement on the market? No, everything is fine. As I gave a sign with my eyes to Hagana, who was listening next to me, she nodded and opened a screen on her laptop. Her face was expressionless as usual. Just as Lisa's smile had several variations that could express different emotions, Hagana's blank expression had similar variations. What I could read in her expression was surprise and anguish. Drop to 9 moles, baby. An emergency projection has been released in anticipation of Harold Bros' earnings announcement tomorrow. It's terribly pessimistic. They are predicting losses evaluated above 7 billion mools on real estate-related positions. What? Who did this? I was rendered speechless. Was this leak caused by Barton's insiders? What would be his reason for shaking Harold Bros? Doing that would only bring the lunar surface closer to collapse. As I looked at the news screen with a look of utter despair on my face, my gaze went to the name of the person who had written the earnings projection report. I'd seen that name before. It belonged to the man who introduced himself as an independent securities analyst based in Wall Street, the biggest trading district on Earth. Iceman. Him! Oh, hi, Max Braun. I'm just reading a visual novel. It's been a long time coming. I never finished it. I usually record this stuff, but I'm just gonna live stream the rest because why not? Feel free to sit in forever much you can tolerate this. I know it's cringy as fuck, but going forward. It was that analyst, the one who had teamed up with Avalon to corner Eleanor. He was like in the second game, I remember him. In the course of Avalon's collapse, he had managed to avoid arrest and prosecution, but because of several business ethics violations, he had been fired from Harold Rose. Then why is he allowed to write these reports? And now people believe him. It could have been to take revenge on his former employer, or to satisfy some miserable sense of self-importance, or maybe it was his conscience as an analyst which revealed itself in such a critical moment. In any case, as with stock purchases, there had to be someone who sold them. That was how the world worked. I understood that doing stock trading could lead to one to bear witness to outrageous acts. Like last-minute backstabbing from random characters who don't really matter, but he could have picked another moment for that, like the next game that doesn't exist because this is the last game. I was holding the tablet so hard in my hands that it was creaking. Oh no, thanks man, I'm good. Thanks for the voice compliments. It's been a long day. I'm doing this for like 2 hours, 40 minutes. It's about to break down, but hopefully we can get to the end of the game before then. It's over. We can't do anything about it anymore. The president is currently talking with Saudi about who to recommend as director of the central bank. We were out of options. I looked at Agana. Agana was pale as a sheet, her gaze locked on the display. Really? Are we out of options? If we had a lot of time, maybe. And there are also problems of currency options. Didn't Marco tell you? It's a gamble. I guess it was better to die taking action than sitting around waiting for death to come. Come to think of it, Eleanor also said that she couldn't get used to a spaceship's automatic pilot. Maybe that was just the nature of investors. I don't want no robots taking me to space. To believe we could open a path to the future with our own hands, if we weren't fools who believed in such fantasies completely, we wouldn't be able to survive in this world. I understand your frustration, though. We are but civilians. We merely spend our lives trying to walk around with the system in the best way. We are in no proposition to do anything about the collapse of the system itself. What? Thanks for the encouragement, bro. I'll do it. What was that? Was that what the pessimism in the King of Pessimism meant? No, it just means he looks down upon you. People, and himself. People, please do not take your anger out on me. Except reality. You should brace for the shock of the crash of the lunar surface's economy. Oh, also, I'm dead! I'm old. About the director's seat in the central bank. My name and yours are listed as candidates. After all, it would cause problems to put someone there who has ties with some company. What will you do? I wouldn't mind taking the seat, anyhow. I don't have long to live. You can't complain about what a dead person did, after all. Or so Sadia says. She hit the nail on the head. She sure is a skilled one. Wallace chuckled as he spoke. I felt ready to drop to my knees, rather, still clutching the tablet in my hands. I was about to say chuckling for some reason. Deciding to use the rotary press might very well end up killing the patient in order to cure the disease. I had no idea whether to call it a courageous decision or a foolish act. However, even if there was no other option, results were everything in this world. I was about to hurl from my own egotism. I didn't want to become the person responsible for pulling the trigger on the lunar surface's collapse. Don't worry, you can blame Hagana for that. I felt a relief at Wallace's proposition, and for that, I felt murderous urges towards myself. Those are suicidal urges. Call the hotline, dude. Well, I can hazard a guess as to what is paining you. If you're an investor, pick the best path. This is a selfish world. This is not a bad thing. We have a lot to look forward to. I don't need to bear this dishonor now. Thanking God that Wallace was not right in front of me. I curse myself for creating such a mask for myself. gamble on the protection worked too well, right? Duck. Tor. Vakta. Are we in agreement about taking the director's seat, then? I shall press the button of the rotary press in my name. This will make you a free man. Old Beardy was in turmoil too. He thought it was too cruel to entrust the destiny of the lunar surface to you 3 times. Besides, the culprit is the one who built up Avalon, isn't he? I've heard his name too, if nothing else. Realize it made sense. Pressing the button of the rotary press would end up causing a literal bombing of banknotes on Barton's scheme. This could blow up what was likely the biggest conspiracy in the history of humanity, just like blowing up on a fire to put it out. Oh yeah, we just use a counterfire, man. I don't know if we'll have the time to set up a consolation party, but I'd like a reservation at Club 25. Doctor! It seems like this is the end. Or the dreams of the lunar surface. Well, it was fun while it lasted. And with that, the call ended. I felt like I had been forced to confront the fact that all of our hopes had been extinguished. I couldn't act. Agana couldn't act. I couldn't read because I'm running out of water. We're not even on the last node. We're almost at 3 hours. I wondered how long the silence that dominated the room lasted. I ended up being first to speak. Fine hero of the lunar surface I am. I yelled, throwing my tablet at the ground. I'm not gonna yell that, it's way too late. Fine hero of the lunar surface I am! I get it, how you're mad. In the end, I couldn't do anything. I couldn't convince Chris. And as for Barton, I couldn't even find the opportunity to try and persuade him. If the economy of the lunar surface collapsed and the mole crashed, I would also lose all my assets. I had obtained a fortune comparable to a pharaoh's, and just like that, things were completely turned upside down. How fitting for the world of finance. Besides, for people who were just actually working and sweating, and actually had a job with a purpose that was useful for people, this was really a disaster. Because of some financial product they had nothing to do with, that they had never heard about and couldn't understand, they would lose everything they had built until now, and be forcibly repatriated to the reality called Earth. That is a word that I do not know, but I can guess based on the context of the sentence that follows. Though who had taken part in some way could see what was happening from the box seats were probably actually blessed. But I couldn't even cry over how horrible this result was. None of the circumstances that led to it. It was just so swift. Even swifter and more dumbfounding than when E.J. Rockbird bargained to buy both stairs. And so, the lunar surface would probably end as one page of Earth's history, merely saying that this social experiment was a failure. Lost in anger, despondency, and despair. It's a lot of D's. I was unable to move, but there was someone here to hold my hand. Lude. It was none other than Hagana. Hagana stood next to me, her eyes downcast, holding my hand. If nothing else, I held Hagana with me. This meager consolation was enough to put me on the verge of tears. I was holding back. Hal, he has said the term verge of tears in the past hour like 3 times already, man. We gotta think of better ways to write that. I know. To send back one's own country. Oh! Repatriate. Yeah, I'm sure I read that in a social studies book somewhere. I managed to hold back my tears, and after taking a deep breath, I spoke. We'll cut our losses. The economy is going to crash. We have to plan in order to protect our fund and Lisa's fund assets. Thanks for pointing that out, by the way. And thinking about the worst case scenario, we needed to get tickets for the orbital elevator as soon as possible. Egotistical, self-centered, say what you want. This was how the lunar surface showed dreams to people, and it was its sales point to develop itself. I said so to myself in my heart, as if to talk back against my own feeling of shame, and I was about to act upon it. But what stopped me was Hagana's hand. No, Hal. This is our fight. What? Hagana called out my name, stopping me in my tracks. I couldn't think clearly, as though my brain had short-circuited. I didn't understand at all why Hagana was doing that. What? We are to move, then we can't waste a second. We must call Lisa and Marco. Hal, listen to me. To what? I was yelling. Listen to what? What point is there now? The lunar surface is over. It's all going out of business. We're closed for day. Printing banknotes. That would be akin to going to the roadside and dumping off a product everyone was rabid to get their hands on. Talk about a killjoy. The lunar surface couldn't live on without dreams. I was aware that my face was twisted into a smile as I was crying. That wasn't a reference you had to get. Thanks for getting that, man. I won't blame you. It's not your fault. What is to blame here is the depth of human greed. So deep, no one can predict it. So people see something floating in the sky, and they want to get their hands on it, even if they have to bring it down, because of their greed. I yelled. I'm not gonna yell. It's way too late in the day. But Hagana did not let go of my hand. Hal. And she called out my name once more. Hal, are you going to give up? Ooh, no, I'm gonna choke you out one. What the heck is this, man? That's a shot. I moved purely on reflex. Reason did not take the slightest part in this. I moved like a robot whose switch was flipped on. You see, Hagana, your tie is crooked. I just need to adjust it real quick. It's really throwing me off. When I came to my senses, I was holding Hagana by her collar. But Hagana did not avert her gaze from me. You went on. You went to the far end of space to investigate and confirm something that was thought to be nearly impossible. The movie said so. You have like on DVD or something? What was this you and watching me on TV? Hagana said this with a deadly serious look on her face. This was more than enough to take me completely aback. Far end of space. Are you kidding? That place was just a short hike from the lunar surface. Feeling despondency take the place of excitation. I was just about to collapse on the spot. It's a word, I know, I swear. But Hagana merely pursed her lips slightly at my correction and spoke again at once. Then, that story about you fighting against hardships, that was all a lie. That's... exclamation point. Was it a lie? It's not a lie. I uttered these words, and, without thinking, kept on speaking. That's what I want to believe. So, which is it? Hagana asked, growing irritated. I responded. It's not a lie. Then what do I do in this situation? What good is there persisting anymore? Or would it be unethical to act right now, on the basis of insider information? Is that it? No, that's not what I mean. But then, what do you mean? The words of defeat I was about to utter were blown away by a single sentence from Hagana. There is still something we can do. Oh, really? I was like, very sure there wasn't. Huh? I thought I heard her wrong. There's still something we can do. Are you kidding me? I'm not lying. Hal. Hagana glared at me. I mean, I feel like she maintained the same exact look she was giving me this whole time, but okay. Won't you believe me? In saying this, she grabbed my right hand. There were no words in existence for what could wring more emotion out of me than that action. If there is another option, then you should pick that one. But if this really is the only option, there's still another thing we can do. I believe that is something that only you can do, Hal. But... Hal. Ugh. Oh, fuck. We got the hug scene immediately after the choke scene, man. That's the real emotion right there. That's real narrative right there. Hagana pulled my hand, resting her forehead on my shoulder. I was taken aback and caught Hagana's body. I too, this whole time, have regretted what happened 8 years ago. Really? Because I'm pretty sure I was the one who was a jerk to you. Huh? I kept telling myself that I only had more skills to improve on my program than... No, that's... That if only I had told you more about what I thought and felt. Hagana, who had interrupted me as I was about to speak, said this before removing her face from my shoulder and looked at me. If only I had trusted more in my own feelings. Do we collect the dragon? Probably. Sometimes you see such people. They couldn't see any value in themselves, and they ended up hanging themselves out of the blue. The words of that money lender rose up in the back of my mind. I remember Hagana 8 years ago, running away from the church, saying she'd sell herself to pay off the debt. I remember her back then, or remembered her, wearing an expression that seemed to say nothing good had ever happened to her in her entire life. That was probably the case. Hagana was regretting not trusting her feelings more. I wasn't the only one clenching his teeth with all his strength just to move forward. Not at all. Hal, I love you. And just as much, I love the place where I got to meet you. Hagana aimed these words straight at me, without any embarrassment or hesitation. In a way, that was so like her. But 8 years ago, but 8 years had passed since then. Yeah, I'm into blonde girls now. Sorry, dude. I found out that Hagana had, without exaggeration, grown up. That's why I think this deal will work out. Deal? Yes. Hagana nodded as she said this. Hal, why do you think unhappiness does not disappear from Earth? Huh? What's that question out of the blue? I'm talking about what you taught me about value and peace. Price. Price! I think we can solve the problem if we apply this. That's... Hagana uttered these words. He's barely gotten a full sentence. Edgewise, dude. I told you. Taxes. Yay, taxes. The hero of every story. And Hagana started speaking. It was a way of thinking that was not appropriate at all for her. But at the same time, it was so rational that it was just like her. In the middle of her explanation, I ended up laughing. Laughing that someone would come up with that way of thinking. What Hagana had brought up was a deal, or as a deal, rather. It was, without a shred of a doubt, a deal. Just gotta read my book. It's called The Fart of the Deal. Just gotta look it up. I think we do have to think about how to set the prices, but with that, we should be able to bring him to the negotiation table. Yes, I think it was a problem of how much people are able to believe in the world. Indeed. If you, who are so suspicious yet so gullible, didn't mention it, you might not have noticed this. Sorry. Compliments. This is clearly different. Really? It's clearly different. If I had not met you, and if we had not parted ways once, I certainly would not have thought about this. Her jet black eyes, again, they look more red than black, but whatever, gazed at me without a shred of doubt. In economic transactions, the word trust is used precisely because deals and transactions begin by trusting the other party. I laughed. But it was not a laugh of resignation. I was genuinely happy. We still have somewhere we can go. We haven't reached the end of the world yet. Yes, your dreams haven't come true, but... yeah, it's part of yours is really untrodden land. It could even be big enough to dwarf Barton's plan. I grabbed the back of Hagana's hand, and after making sure I wouldn't let go of it, I picked my tablet up off the ground. Thanks to the low gravity and the carpet covering the floor, it wasn't broken. I lightly brushed off the dust and dialed a phone number. It was Gazinica, and I was calling. And I briefly explained my intentions to him. As expected, Gazinica was confused at my words and completely taken aback. But in the end, he did give in. After all, If things kept on going the way they were, there was no way to avoid the collapse of the lunar surface. In such a situation, even foolish gambits were fair game. Basically, try anything. Just as when he was good at rolling up his sleeve and yelling at people, Kazunika graciously made his decision. And, after my conversation with Kazunika was over, I displayed another number. I never thought I'd call that number again, or that I'd get a call from it. With my tablet in my hand, I noticed that the corners of my mouth had relaxed for some reason. I don't know, waifu support probably? What is wrong? Gonna ask me. It's not that I'm nervous, but it's strange. My body isn't stiffening at all. Optimism? Maybe I'm underestimating the possibility of failure, but I'm aware how outrageous a project it is, and how much of a dreamer I am, and yet, I'm not scared of anything. Then, what is it? Maybe. As I spoke, I raised my hand, bringing Hagana's into our line of sight. Because I'm not alone. In parentheses. Hagana looked with a surprise at our connected hands, and she blushed. But I won't let go of her hand. I won't ever. Yeah, censor that, dude. Can't accidentally press the Windows key. Where's my gaming mode buttons on the keyboard? How? Hagana looked at me and quietly nodded. I called the number I had displayed. This was a phone call to 8 years ago, and the problem call that would connect to our future. Hey Barton, are we friends or enemies or frenemies? You're not going to come crying to me, are you? Those were his first words. But I had no reason to flinch from him. Sorry, Hal, my son's on the other line. Give me a sec. Have you forgotten who was in a world of pain 4 years ago? We're tied at 1 win and 1 loss. Oh, then I guess she came back to your side. Congratulations. I know how to say words. Those were his first words. That I accidentally read on the stream instead of on the actual game. That's not what he said at all. Thank you very much is what I'm supposed to read. I'm an idiot. Stream delays, man. You gotta live with them. I answered politely before saying this. I thought it was time to settle our score. Such fierce words, mister. Barton laughed before heaving a sigh. I must now go back to Earth, where a most enjoyable project building a pyramid awaits me. I hope what you have is good enough to hold me back from that. Building a pyramid? What the fuck? At those words, I felt something akin to a shiver. Barton had already forsaken the lunar surface. After investing so much effort, preparing plans, stationing people, all that to reach an opportunity, he would not persist beyond reason. If the situation was worse than his expectations, he would retreat at once and never chase too far. Okay, I just gotta point out, these one-word text boxes are brilliant. It's the only time I can really get a good sip of water. Keep them coming, and drink. Barton was a monster. A real investor, created by the world of investment. May I meet you? You're not planning on arresting me and seizing my bank accounts, are you? Oh yeah, dude, he became like the new pharaoh of Egypt. That's why he's going. You just bought them out. Had you been that kind of man, you might have been one of my options. So acting the part of a virtuous man paid off, it seems. Where do you want us to meet then? Downstairs. What the? Huh? I like this hotel's coffee very much, you see. It's the same place as 8 years ago. Come! Barton spoke in a tone that led one to imagine he was smiling. I shall evaluate what became of my investment of 8 years ago. And with that, I accidentally pressed the space key. And with that, the call disconnected suddenly. Ghana looked a bit worried. I bet she's like, too much shit happens at this hotel, man. We need more locations. But I was still smiling. I felt excitement, akin to the sort one might feel when opening a present. And I knew that feeling. Barton was really something. After all, my heart was about to burst from anticipation. just as if I was waiting for the market to open up the next day after setting up my stocks. I would learn how much I had grown. I was filled with this joy. Was Agana not invited or what? Agana. What? I spoke. Let's go. Yay! Hagana's answer was a happy smile. Can we get the last story node filled up? Just like in the second game, it didn't fill up until Barton showed up. Maybe? Yes! Called it! See that in the very corner? Filled. We're at the end goal. Finally. Yeah, in the second game, you didn't get to the last node until like Barton magically calls Hal at the end. And I was like, oh, hello, dude. The person who showed us to our seats was the same person as 4 years ago when I came with Eleanor. Oh wow. Did she remember me? Nope, she's a robot. They get moved every 11 years. I did not know, but there were several points where I felt like I might lose my perception of time. Does she work here or what? Because I swear we never saw her before. As I was with my memories of 4 years ago, 8 years ago, and with the present blending in a mess, the anchor that kept me properly tied to reality was Hagana's hand. That hand held all of my experience until now. Oh wait, no, she was around here before. I remember her now. This way. Thanks, waitress. Then, we stood before the root cause of everything. It's actually the waitress. It was me the whole time. Hey, that's a cut. That's a compile. What the fuck is this final boss music? Oh my god, let's do it. Feels like an eternity, doesn't it? No, I've been here the whole time. I see you walk up the stairs so many days and you never look at me. Indeed, in actuality, it would be 8 years, no? But as I am now, I feel like I've turned into a bad guy, you know? Barton was sitting leisurely on the sofa, with an intimidating smile on his face. After glancing at Agana and me as though appraising us, he spoke. Well, have a seat. Why is your hair purple, dude? Come on. Agana and I sat in chairs, and I asked the waitress to bring 2 coffees. Are you going to give up Emerald Industries? Wait, there's 3 of us. Why did we only get 2 coffees? This was my way of breaking the ice. Look how happy he is. It's like, hey, I can talk with you without having a post-traumatic stress crisis. Straight to the point, huh? I thought you were a monster. Hmm? Don't stick to a plan that was carried over the course of several years. I guess you had to set your own limit on when to back out, right? But even so, such decisiveness is beyond normal. How can you so easily renounce something you have built? Hey, another one thing text box. One word text box, sweet. Oh yeah, no. Coffee's way too expensive on the moon, man. It's that inflation, you know, they're printing too many banknotes. Barton looked at me before glancing at the coffee in his hand. Oh, okay, he brought his own. It's bring your own coffee day, idiots. I wonder. Could it be because you really want deep down? Isn't the acquisition of Emerald Industries itself? At my words, Barton was about to pour coffee in his mouth. He directed his sharp gaze towards Agana. So, you told him. You never told me not to talk about it. Well, that's true. Barton sipped his coffee and put down his cup. He interlaced his fingers over his belly before heaving a sigh. The situation of the lunar surface is worse than I expected. People obeying their greed made a bet and lost. Right now, the lunar surface is about to be drowned out in the depths of that greed. One word text boxes. Yes, man. That should be one of the tags on Steam. You got visual novel and text boxes with one word in them. By the way, if you define greed as taking any risk in order to reach your objective, then the greediest people in the world are right here, if you ask me. Barton probably caught on to Hagana's behavior at some point, maybe during the negotiations with Emerald Industries. But Hagana did not falter in the slightest. She kept sitting in the chair, her expression composed. As I am right now, I have immense funds, but it does not allow me to do whatever I want. I must think about how to use it. Next time, are you going to create an artificial island on the middle of the Pacific Ocean? Is that a hot sequel we got in the mid? I'm kidding. That would be nice, after all. The lunar surface is quite far from Earth. A lighthearted exchange during the shallow spot in the conversation. Barton was the first to make a move. So, you come to talk about it. I hope you're not counting on my money. Actually, I am. I spoke. Barton laughed. There was no sound to it at first, just as his shoulders shaking more and more, but then he started laughing, as though he were having a coughing fit. I can't do that. I remember your proposal from 8 years ago. It was immature in many ways, but it clearly expressed your nature as a human being. You have the courage to face great hardships. This, in and of itself, is a wonderful thing. But it's been 8 years. Shouldn't you give up and learn that there are situations for which nothing can be done? It took down Avalon, you know, or more accurately, we did. So, you think that what is happening here right now is merely a continuation of this story, scale-wise? Yeah, it's literally called Volume 3, dude, come on. As far as I'm concerned, the only option you have left is to open the valve of the central bank. Barton had been preparing his plan for the past 2 years. He must have envisioned every single possible outcome exhaustively, as well as what people would do in each given situation. Indeed, the decision was handed down 1 hour ago. And you even ignore the trap of currency options? At first, that's how it sounded, but when cornered, you have to use whatever means you have. You would just have to print enough money to cover for the losses incurred by the currency options. So, we are about to embark on a bet on whether or not the mool will depreciate faster when the losses are absorbed, but you mean to say things are different now? Yes. Such was my answer. I am confident that we could avoid the depreciation of the mool, sustain the nearly collapsed Herald Bros and Emerald Industries, and stabilize the real estate market, which is the root cause of all of this, just like a bottomless pit. So, you're saying you can become the Alexander to cut Gorgianot references to it. That's an anime I never watched, I'm kidding. Barton, of all people, was stepping back. I mean, they talked about it before, I'm aware, it's been a while. Even Barton was convinced there was no way out. Yet, in these market conditions, there was a way to overturn everything. Of course, with math! Magic math, I don't know. For the first time, Barton looked straight at me. Which is why I came to make a deal with you. A deal? My stomach grumbles. Exactly. This is something you have taught me. If that investor is someone who aims for the best profit at the best timing, then now is precisely the moment I must bring this deal with you. Aren't you supplicating me? If the situation continues, the lunar surface will collapse, so you're asking me not to run away with the money, but to put it to a good use. Certainly not. I still have enough backbone to learn from my forefathers. I resumed my explanation. We are the people of the lunar surface, misers who convert everything to money, which is why, since the lunar surface's problem is a monetary problem, all possible avenues have not been explored. Here, even at the end of the world, is a monetary problem, so all we have to do is convert everything to money. After exchanging a glance with Agana, who was wow. Look at that, man, they're so friends forever now. Who was next to me, I raised my head to glance at the large terrarium visible from my seat. I can see a hotel of the lunar surface that was said to be of the highest grade in the world. Gotta liquidize everything, man. Came here for my own marketing, stayed here for the fun. I'm allowed to compliment you as much as I want. Hey, thanks, man. What I saw is not a mere construction. I saw the dreams of people, their hopes, or you could say their broken dreams and despair. We should just have a big open house, liquidizing moon sail. Everyone has to climb up the space ladder, and we'll just buy up everything, all the chairs. And feelings of people. We will convert people's feelings for the lunar surface into money. Threaten them, yelling. If you love the lunar surface, if you don't want to leave the lunar surface, then cough up enough money to accomplish that. Asshole! Hey, that's how you do a one-word text box. Drink to that. The asshole. They're gonna do the fucking... That's the Wikipedia solution, man. If everyone that was using the site just donated 1 penny, we would stop e-begging right away. But no one ever does. Urge them by saying, if you're an inhabitant of the lunar surface, then buy your dreams with your money. Buy the memories you have made here with your money. Just like EJ Rockburn bought out both stairs, just like you bought out Emerald Industries, we will pull a buyout on the inhabitants of the lunar surface. I don't see where you're headed with this, but first of all, can't you see that this is unprecedented? A buyout on the inhabitants of the lunar surface? Let us say that this was even possible. I doubt you would be able to build up the system for this in time. Do you know how hard the construction of the system was? Even for trading mere electricity. When I say the situation is desperate, I mean it's because there is no time at all. No, there is no special need for a new system. I mean, if you want to live there, then you pay what is necessary to that end. That is what taxes were originally supposed to be about, right? Ugh, what is it? Taxes? How dare you? It's a deal. We need a tremendous amount of moons, enough to blow away the crisis of the lunar surface, and the central bank will be able to print it. However, if we print that many banknotes, the moon will depreciate and cause the demise of the lunar surface. So, in order to prevent this, we have to collect money via taxes, maintain the value of the moon. And if people acknowledge that the lunar surface has that much value, then they will pay, even if taxes are imposed on them. Implement taxes on the lunar surface? But if you did that, I do expect complaints and dissatisfaction to occur. But if they think that the lunar surface is better than Earth, then they will pay. Yeah, that's the equation right there, man. I hear it. And if we prove that the books can be balanced, even if we print banknotes, the mole's value won't collapse, and financial institutions will be able to inject enough capital to overcome this turmoil. This will allow the lunar surface to retain its attractiveness, which means companies will not withdraw themselves, people will come back, and things will go back to working fine. Dude, that's what I was saving the word world via taxes. None of the investors are gonna be into this, man. How are you gonna get a Swiss bank all the way on the moon? You gotta satellite drop that shit. Of course, you might laugh at my idea for being idealistic. In truth, though, wherever everything works out or ends, a disaster relies solely on one premise. My gaze pierced straight through Barton. How much people care for the lunar surface? Exactly, or... My following words were spoken as an investor. If, compared to Earth, the lunar surface is just a little more attractive, are people greedy enough to yearn and struggle to be the ones to acquire that profit? Also, I thought this deal of mine actually had a chance of working out. I was convinced this was no pipe dream. Indeed, the government was currently completely looked down upon, called names, and had its hands full of even collecting a little more than a bare minimum of necessary taxes. Yet, it was said that this was what made the lunar surface so attractive. Hey, dude, that's like 3 in 1 out in like 40-ish minutes, man. I'm gonna drink to that. But everything came to maturity. Even a restaurant, just after its opening, would provide some extra service free of charge. Even if people were to come because of this, If you suddenly stopped providing the extra service, people would believe that customers would stop coming. People normally didn't think like that. Excuse me? And special places like the lunar surface were far less numerous than restaurants. It was Agana who thought up that idea. She was born in a very poor country, and her circumstances have pushed her to be bought in exchange for money. I guess the political system was in shambles, and nothing could be done. But this was a commonly heard tale on Earth, and it had been going on for millennia. At long last, the answer people found was what was called the lunar surface. I remember what Eleanor talked about. I remembered the very reason the things such as ABS and CDO got popular. The lunar surface was a land. That was the object of adoration for Earth people. People who could not go there tried to involve themselves with it by investing. And this blew up to such a huge proportions that it caused a real estate bubble, and people poured money in the holy grail created by Chris and her team, believing it was a cup that could take an infinite amount of water. That was why a bubble occurred in regards to that demand, and people's greed grew with the same momentum. That no matter who you were, leaving your home and birthplace was a hard thing to do. This was obvious from the sheer number of people who would not leave the Earth, even if it meant being mere playthings of the horrible situation there, even in the political system that one did not like. Even in a land devoid of hopes, there were a lot of people who could not leave their homeland, which was exactly why they tried to have monetary ties with the lunar surface, at the very least. That result was this bubble. So even if it was a fact that people did not want to die far away from their homeland, no matter how good they had it on the lunar surface, and even if that was why so many were scrambling to be the first on the orbital elevator back to Earth, this must not be the case for everyone. There must be people who have decided to bury their bones here, or people who have made unforgettable memories here, people such as Agana. Of course, when thinking rationally about it, the best move here would be to count on some other guy to pay the taxes in order to save the lunar surface, while you would just escape discreetly and observe the situation to take advantage of the outcome, no matter what it was. False alarm, we got words in this box. Taking into account all my experiences up until now, of course, I'd assumed the lunar surface was full of people like that. That's because if you didn't act with the assumption in mind, you'd get taken advantage of. Even so, we bore witness to the cases, such as Bull Stairs. People were not that selfish, and not that foolish. Even when aware that it would bring them a loss, that would not be equitable, that it would be unreasonable, people were broad-minded, enough to accept all that, for the sake of what was really important. Waifus on the moon, man. And, more than anything else, Agana was right before my eyes. Like, literally every female character, I'm counting Saudi on this too, has been like top-tier waifu back then. And even Rena, even though she's married. The same Agana who said this. This was a population of, or this was a problem of how much you could believe in the world. Which was why this deal, without a doubt, had a chance of working out. 4 years ago, 8 years ago, I would have just sneered at that thought. But I could believe in Agana, I could believe in Lisa, I could believe in Chris, and I could trust in the passion of the people who wanted to make this place a better one than Earth, a wonderful place. And the depth of the greed of the idiots who love this madness filled casino called the lunar surface. You know, this game needs microtransactions. But God, not insane limited, but God won't descend from the heavens just because you prayed really hard. The lunar surface was a ruthless place, and I was an investor. I would use whatever I could. Then, in the situation, I would prop the illness-ridden king of pessimism in the chair of the central bank, which held the last ray of hope? Certainly not. If there was really such a thing as destiny, then I was convinced that all my actions for the past 8 years were steps to bring me to this very moment. The government of the people, by the people, for the people. Was that how it went? Saving the world with believe and taxes? I don't know how I enjoy this. Yeah, man. Lincoln, huh? I do realize I'm not on the same level. My name does have some utility value to it as the hero of the lunar surface. What are you plotting? It's easy. I shall take the seat as director of the central bank. With my name as one born on the lunar surface, a hero who has defeated evil, I will be able to make decisions that might be begrudged by others, but I will be able to persuade people into accepting this as an investment for the future. By claiming this will be an investment of the lunar surface, by the people of the lunar surface, for the people of the lunar surface. Moon Lincoln, bitch! Do you think it will work? An obvious worry, a sensible decision, an intuition that went beyond logic. A man called Barton-clad Wisen glared at me with all of the strength he could unmuster. However, I had absolutely no intention of engaging with him. Whether it will work or not is not the problem. It was Haganah who spoke. We will keep going at it until it works, right? Haganah then glanced at me. I was ridiculously happy that she had remembered me saying that. 8 years ago, I would not trust people so readily. Without my experience of 4 years ago, I wouldn't have been able to put myself forward this much. I was by no means free from my past. But then, it must have been the same for everyone else. Then, let me ask you one question. Barton spoke with a strained voice. He's sweating. I see it. We finally got him. What's that? What is your reason for coming to talk to me about this? Here and now, in terms of how much cash one person could move around freely, Barton was the richest man in the world. Didn't I tell you? I have a deal for you. What do you want? The account I gave you, and all the money in it, and the withdrawal of the positions you hold on Emerald Industries. Just pukes in front of him. Barton could not express surprise and laughter at the same time, and for the first time displayed an expression of bewilderment. Are you insane, mister? Do you actually expect me to accept this proposal? Old Geezer's sweating. You will, without a doubt. You certainly will. That is not a tag I want on anything I'm spending over 3 hours playing in one sitting. Mister, I certainly do not dislike this recklessness of yours, or this daring plan of yours that you spoke of, afraid of God. However, mister, only loss and gain can motivate me to act. Listen, with how uncertain the future is, the only thing you... I already brought this up to President Kazinica. I have his approval. Oh. I spoke. He spoke. The position as Secretary of Ministry of Finance awaits you. Whoa! That's his chip? That's his deal? Oh my god. Ministry of Finance to Barton? You've gone crazy. Fucking capitalist, dude. What? Barton, taken aback, opened his mouth and stood up straight before continuing. After all, the lunar surface's government and parliament are places where companies wage war by proxy. If we were to use the government's immense funds to save financial institutions, the real estate market, and the emerald industries, this would surely stir up something unbelievable. Well, I guess they did confirm that Barton does like the lunar surface and doesn't want it to close down necessarily, so if he became, you know, Ministry of Parliament stuff, yeah, that would work. Oh. And this music is freaking awesome, dude. This is like, if this was the final boss music, then this would be like the final blow or whatever. Wait, that sounds wrong. Never mind. But we both knew of one man who can move freely in this unbelievable world, and who even managed for a time to threaten Emerald Industries. This man was Barton-clad Wisen. A man who had the king of pessimism himself wondering whether or not he was actually a mere human. And a man who loved both investment and the lunar surface more than anyone. Yep. Whether the lunar surface will be able to remain an attractive playground will depend on the government's actions from now on. Just like you tried to turn tables on this crisis to ensure the lunar surface could keep on going. If you are so determined, don't you think that there are other ways to accomplish that goal, Mr. Barton? As I thought about my next words, I couldn't prevent a smile from creeping on my face. He's been stuck in this perma-smile for the past 30 minutes, man, I'm sorry. How about you grow up? Ooh, words that Barton had told me. This feels good, man. He has that big dick energy just flowing through him. I may have had a smug look on my face, but frankly, who could blame me? Barton looked like he had just had a heart attack, and was clutching his heart, looking back at me in blank amazement. Hey, get some water for him, dude. You don't want him to die right here. You need him now. Even a man like him didn't fathom this possibility, no matter how hard he racked his brains. People who don't behave like a mathematical formula. That was why the result of the Ghana's program could be overridden. That was because in that realm, people such as me, Kazinica, Wallace, Sadia, Lisa, Marco, Eleanor, Chris, our names weren't there, and Rena, I like Rena. Also because the act of one person trusting another, something very obvious for humans, is not taken into account in that realm. Are you telling me to put the rope around my neck? Barton uttered those words with difficulty. I answered. Don't they say capitalists will even sell the rope to hang themselves? Oh, got him. Barton glared at me. The man I'd feared, that I admired, was glaring at me. Even though this deal, collecting taxes, had some measure of a chance of working out, I couldn't know in advance of how much money we could get. Investors worldwide were fleeing from every market, and so the situation was similar to a shortage of capital liquidity, if it was quite possible that they could not use their money even if they wanted to. So, in order to increase the odds even a little, I wanted to sweep away any concern related to Emerald Industries. Just by removing this problem, the amount of money needed would drop significantly. Oh hey, thanks for the subscription, man. That was like 30 minutes ago. Sorry I'm late to the punch on these things. If, on top of that, Barton could join us, well, there would be no ally more reassuring than him. I meant to cut the Gordian knot. I wouldn't say such lukewarm words as two birds with one stone. You. Yeah? You really were born on below the surface. Barton briefly uttered this. So, he would say. This whole thing is quite dumbfounding, really. At first, it was to buy out an investment bank. Then in order to buy out Emerald Industries, we finally have gone all the way. The world is about to collapse, and you use that threat to bring to the table a proposal about buying this very world. Who could even imagine such a deal existed? Investment is about trumping the other person's plans and schemes. You're the one who taught me that, so what do you think? I am convinced you'll accept this deal. Ooh, first YouTuber. You know what they say, it only gets better from here. You literally can... There's a lot of good stuff out there. 30 billion moons, or maybe 40 billion moons. If you gave me that much money, we could create the Golden City to rule. I made sure to use this word on purpose, and meant it as provocation. As a matter of fact, taunting him was my only way to go about this. I had to boast that no matter where else he went, he would never get a bigger job than here. Barton and I kept staring at each other. Pagana's like, y'all, am I intruding on something? Am I third wheeling you after all this time? After an indeterminate amount of time, Barton finally sighed and uttered these words. The scholar may yet. Huh? War the master. Ooh. Barton said this in a low voice, before laughing. Would this be the magic of compound interest? And sighing, as if in resignation, he glanced around for a bit. Finally, his gaze returned to the table, and Barton scratched his head. So, my failure with Avalon was the first bad omen, huh? Then, As I took advantage of the momentum and asked for his confirmation, Barton laughed wryly and shrugged. I am weak to investments, but as you said, I do think that investment is about trumping the other's plan. This is literally just the fucking prequel to the 2018 elections or some shit. 2016. And in that case, I see your point. Deciding to manage a proper government on the lunar surface, now, that's a chance to trump people's plans that you don't get every day. Besides, I'm not young anymore, you see. I've been thinking it was lonely being by myself. Saying this, Barton winked clumsily. This ain't a marriage proposal or anything, dude. You're still gonna be alone. You'll just be in a good position. I might never win against him. His gesture just now made me think this. But in the end, relationships between people were probably an accumulation of such things. I'll accept your offer. Did it! Yay! We won, I guess. Congrats. Roll credits. How about your positions? I know. Please call your legal advisor. It's the firm that has the really skilled lawyer, Satya, right? I'm as whimsical as the market, after all. Determining profits is the right call to make. Barton said this, sipping his coffee. Grandpa Evil Investor, Barton the Egyptian. That's quite the final boss title, man. Worthy of getting all the way over here. At that instant, all the tension left my body, and I slouched in my chair weakly. Barton laughed. I could not tell whether he was laughing at me for how I looked right now, or if he was laughing at himself for losing against me. I wanted to believe it was both. For some reason, that thought crossed my mind. Not really lost. A mutual gain. We're buddies now. How? Gunna called out my name. Defeat means friendship, dude. She handed me my tablet, so I guess she was getting me to make a call. This time, Barton laughed out loud. Haha, you're the type to get henpicked, aren't you? I'm not good at anything besides investment. As I managed to give this answer, I called Kazinika's number. And, as I was about to make that call, Barton asked, you're the type who would, on his deathbed, give instructions for his position after his own death, right? As I listened to the ringtone, I looked at Barton and answered, no, that's not it. I'm going to Mars, bitch! Barton looked at me, expectantly, tilting his head. I'm the type who can't stop investing, even when the world is about to come to an end. Actually roll credits, baby! Barton laughed, and my call connected. I reported the course of events, and asked him to take steps so we could announce the project as soon as possible. In the meantime, Barton finished drinking his coffee, and after looking bored for a moment, stood up from his chair. I wasn't yet done with my phone call, so I called out in a rush to stop him from leaving. But Barton paid no heed to me and pulled out his wallet, taking coins and banknotes from it. I nearly cried for a moment when I saw what he had put on the table. Notice me. We'll split the check. Oh, dude, it's Dutch because they're equals. That's amazing. He paid for food for him in the first game. I didn't realize that was him being like holding him in the palm of his hand back then. I thought that was just him being like a nice uncle type of guy. As equal parties. We'll have to see plenty of each other, even if we don't want to. So don't make that face. That's cute. And that is some heavily overpriced coffee, dude. Looks like we lost. I held back the tears that were welling up and looked up towards Barton. You just see the waitress with like a stick, with like a bat. She's like, pay up, bitch. Ah, shit. I'd been hurt badly because of him. At times, the thought of wanting to kill him crossed my mind. But if I hadn't met that person, I don't think I'd ever become who I am now. Mini Barton. Barton shrugged and laughed as he prepared to leave. He stopped walking for an instant and felt like he did it on purpose. Ah, I almost forgot. Since you'll be the center stage for all of this, well, you know what that means. It might get made into another movie or something. That was so sudden, I couldn't answer, and Barn said this. Please make sure your girlfriend doesn't try to blow up Earth because you make out with me in the movie. I hope that you'll at least let me decide the title. What do you have in mind? He's gonna say it. He's gonna say the... I bet he says it. Barn looked back at me over his shoulder and had a grin on his face. The tale of the crazed economy junkie who even turned the end of the world into a business deal. In other words... Economica. Yay! Oh, and they're playing the song Shida Kyodan for the win. Let's get out of here, fam. World End Economica. Even if the world came to an end, we certainly wouldn't get slaughtered. Roll actual credits. Well, see you in the service. With that, Martin waved, promptly left. Sorry, we couldn't afford a movie, but we got this sweet visual novel. Left behind, I gazed at his back, sniffling, before returning to my phone call in a hurry. The discussion ended soon after that. He wanted me to come to the government building. We had a lot of things left to do. Or rather, we'd have to deal with even more things. As I ended my phone call, I gave the tablet back to Hagana. Not only are they playing the opening, they're playing the first game's opening, man, which in my opinion is the best opening, so... Yes! Did it! Taking the tablet, she put away and stood up promptly. There was no sentimentality, no afterglow. What? There was still a feeling. How? How are you able to talk after 3 hours and 41 minutes? I don't know, dude. Yes. Hold her hand. Hagana held her right hand out to me. You're going. Yes. Yay! Oh god. Is this allowed on YouTube? I took her hand and stood up. Yes, I had to go. I could go anywhere. Uncensored, baby! Now that Steam doesn't care about censorship. Even if it was. Even if it was what? Even if it was what? Even if it was untrodden ground, cuts to them in Mars, having trouble breathing. The end of the world. Wow. That's it. Oh my god. Oh. Oh, I'm gonna get emotional. Good stuff. Alright. That literally was World End Economica, the rest of it. I basically very poorly let's played, I guess, let's readed, out louded this whole visual novel series, and then I got lazy towards the end and forgot to do the rest, so this live stream is a love letter to all that missed opportunities. That, and yeah, I had a free day and I just wanted to get it out there because I love this series. I love the writer. I missed my chance to meet the writer back when he came to Anime on Display, because I didn't go to Anime on Display, even though Lotus Juice was also there that same year. And I think they stopped doing Anime on Display, AOD for short. Yeah, I think they canceled that convention, so I'll probably never get to meet him ever, but fuck it. I'll at least finish the visual novel. But yeah, I don't know if I will be reading visual novels like this anytime soon. Maybe I'll think about it. Maybe I'll just live stream more of this type of stuff, but you know, who knows? Oh, why didn't I go to Anime on Display? It was during like a test season for me. I was in my last year of college, so I kind of had to focus on that. But you know what? Totally not worth it. I should have just failed. Oh shit. Oh, we're going back. Oh, we're flashbacking all the way, man. Oh, when she wore the habit. This is good. This is worth it. Oh, when Eleanor looked like a princess. Oh, you do have a suggestion. I'll take it. I love these things, man. Oh man, look at all these beautiful highlights. Alright, sorry, I just needed to get the rest of my water in. Can I contact you anywhere aside from this channel? Yeah, probably. I'm trying to think. No worries, man. I took a way too long of a hiatus to get this stuff out here, so I'm just glad to finish it. You know, I actually don't have any good contact places, now that I think about it. Oh god, defeated Hal. Oh, winning Hal. You know what? I'm gonna throw this video on the main page, but I'm sure there's somewhere you can like name these things. You need to keep it private and all that. Oh shit, we got the after screenshots. Him working together with Barton, that's funny. I mean, I'm on Steam. It's the same name, Alec Panic, on Steam. Same picture too, I think. Oh yeah, I have an email. That works too. I'll just write it in the chat. I love any and all recommendations. But I will say that money has been a bit tight now, so I can't afford any like full-priced games. But if it goes on sale, hell yeah, that shit, like on fire. Oh fuck, they just straight up got married. I was looking at it, but I wasn't analyzing it. Oh my god. I mean, I saw Hal be on TV and I was like, that's as good as it gets, but he wore a white suit. Oh man. And of course Lisa sends them off. He's a priest. That is... Yeah, that's an ending. Thank you for this. Shit, that is an ending. Even Eleanor was into it. Of course Ren is into it, she's already... Yeah. Oh shit, you're just gonna give me a game key? I guess the journey continues. Fuck yeah, man. Thanks. Wow, that's as good as endings get, man. I'll say that much. Oh yeah, I have screen capture on, so it's gonna... Oh god, it's gonna say your name on there. On the Steam thing. Whoops. Well, you know. I think this is unpopular, right? But that's it. That's World End Economica. All of it is done. Got it. So you got the CGs and everything. Oh wow, that's a lot of CGs. Wait, does it show? Yeah, it shows the kiss. Sweet. Here's your wallpapers. And yeah, you know what? This was supposed to be my ultimate channel send-off video at first, to be all like, hey, no one watched this ever, but you know, we had 2 solid viewers for the duration of these 3 hours and 50 minutes, and gosh darn it, I don't want to give it up just yet, so we'll see where this takes me. And, you know, free games. Gotta do it now, fuck. Gotta try it out at least. So, I think we're looking good for a decent amount of time. A couple more journeys left at least. But you know. Not changing my username again, that stays. Sorry, old username, you were just too cringy. And I guess I'll see you guys later. And yep, I'll get that Steam stuff out of the way as well. Thanks for watching, both you and the other viewers out there who'll check this out.